Hi, this is Richard Blade, and you're listening to the Blue Zone Podcast Network as it presents Permanent Record, an in-depth look at the classic albums of the 70s and 80s, albums which have earned a permanent place of honor, both in our hearts and in our record collections.
Welcome to the final episode of Erasure's Chorus. It must be mid to late November?
Well, sure. That sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, so check your calendars. If they don't say November, well, something's wrong. Oh, wait a second. I know what's wrong. It took me a month to edit this episode.
Oh, my goodness sakes.
Well, it was very long. That's my only defense. The episode was very long.
Yeah. Well, I think you have another defense. We had a holiday in there that also took time away from editing.
That's true, I did. Plus, we started decorating for Christmas.
That's right.
Hey, everybody, it's Brian and Sarah. We are back on the final installment of our Erasure Chorus retrospective.
So glad to be back talking about this album, and we want to get right to it because we've got a lot to cover.
We do indeed. So we are joined, as always, when we talk about Erasure, by our friend Andrew Dineley on this episode, the host of the mighty Art on Your Sleeve podcast. I think at some point in this episode, I refer to it as the Art on My Sleeve podcast.
Whoops.
So it's Art on Your Sleeve. If you haven't already subscribed, if you go out to search for it, that's what it's called. So look for Art on Your Sleeve. We talk about, I don't think it's this episode. Maybe it is. Yeah, I've been editing it for so long, I can't really keep it straight. But we talk about his newest episode, which has Andy McCluskey.
That's right.
From OMD, and it was a great episode. And I don't even really like OMD. So check that out, and I think you will be very happy that you did.
Definitely, definitely.
So we are going to get right to it. But before we do that, I've just got to mention that this is an historic event, Sarah.
It is.
It is indeed. This is the first episode of our podcast, the first episode of the Permanent Record podcast that was edited in part by AI.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, I was having so much difficulty getting through this 2.5-hour file that I used an AI to edit things in this episode.
Wow.
So there is a point in time, I didn't use it from the beginning, there is a point in time where I think the sound quality changes just a little bit.
Okay.
And maybe you can pick up on it, maybe you won't. I heard it. You can see what you think.
All right. This ought to be exciting, huh?
Yep.
The AI has entered the podcast. Okay. Not only is AI helping write show notes from time to time, now we're having them do the editing too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot I used AI to write show notes a couple times whenever you were slacking off.
Yeah. Pretty soon AI is going to just do the entire podcast, research and everything. Should be very exciting.
Oh, it's going to be so amazing. It'll be so easy.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So we have a 2-hour discussion. It's actually 2 hours and 41 seconds or something like that.
Okay.
This is us with Andrew talking about Erasure's Chorus, Side 2, and we hope you enjoy it. Stick around afterwards because you guys did a great job with voicemails and stuff. We have 4 voicemails about Erasure Chorus that we're going to listen to.
Wow.
And we have a review.
Awesome.
So all that will be at the end of the episode. Oh, and we're going to announce our contest winner.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Good stuff for the next 2.5 hours, probably.
Lots to cover.
So we'll see you on the other side of the episode. Welcome, everybody. We are back for part 3 of our discussion on Erasure's Chorus album. My name is Brian. I'm here with the lovely Sarah and the even more lovely Andrew. How's everybody doing?
Excellent.
Doing just fine. Thank you.
Glad to hear it. Hey, one of the cool things that happened in the past week or two since we last spoke that I want to be sure I bring up is I think at the end of the episode, Sarah and I very secretively alluded to a cool podcast that was going to appear on your feed, Andrew. And we acted very cool because we knew what it was, but we couldn't tell anybody. And since we last spoke, that episode has come out. I listened to it. It was awesome. Can you just briefly tell everyone why they need to be following Art on Your Sleeve?
Oh, thank you for that. It was a long time coming, wasn't it? I know I've been saying for a year. There's an episode coming soon. But yeah, it finally came out and it coincided with the release of a new OMD album, which is always an exciting thing as well. So yeah, I had the great pleasure of interviewing Mr. Andrew McCluskey, the lead singer of OMD. And we did a look back of over all of the, for people who don't know, the Art on Your Sleeve podcast is about record sleeve design. So we went right back to 1980 and worked our way through every album cover, to present day and sort of dissected them, you know, creatively. Why did they look the way they did? How did the ideas come together? And talked about other issues, you know, things that may have been abandoned, and even got him to talk about his favourites and what he thought worked best. And it was just fascinating. I chatted with him it's an hour-long podcast. Yeah, it was great. He's a lovely guy, really funny. So yeah, it was. I think it's a good episode to relaunch the podcast because there are a couple more episodes recorded.
Oh wow!
And yeah, I know. I'm going to hang around, I think. So there's a Christmas podcast coming that'll have a vaguely Christmas theme to it, connected to what it's about. So there's your teaser for this episode.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's coming out in early December, and then I've got a couple more to still record, and one of those is a very special one as well. No, they're all podcasts are special, aren't they?
They are. They're all labors of love.
Especially when they're from you. What a treat to know there are so many that we can look forward to.
It's nice to be doing it again, though, because I do enjoy doing it. It's just life gets in the way, and that's why you should be commended for churning out so many, because I just know how long it takes.
Yeah, we're just like a sweatshop here. We just churn them out, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I thought your episode was great. I take some flack from folks on social media simply because I'm not a huge OMD fan, and it really seems like I should be. I do really like the album English Electric. I think is a great album. And I checked out that podcast and I loved it. You got along so well. I was like, you know, they both came from the Liverpool area. Maybe they actually know each other because they seem like they're friends. But I can't think of the word right now. I know it's not camaraderie, but
rapport.
The rapport between the two of you was excellent. It was just a fun listen. I thought it was a great episode.
Thank you. That's really kind of you. Thanks very much. Appreciate that.
How is that new album?
The album was good. I really like it. I've listened to it probably about 4 or 5 times. It's always hard, isn't it, when you judge the output of a sort of established artist, because you're looking back over such a long period of time and you've literally had like 4 decades for other albums to grow on you, and you're trying to compare it to something that you've only played 4 or 5 times. So it's hard at this stage to see where it would fit in the order. You know, it's not my favorite album they've done, but over time, potentially it could be. I think there's some really strong songs on it. And we went along to see them play a short set. It was like a rehearsal tour set in a small venue in Liverpool. And they sound great live, really punchy electronics, you know, great bass and stuff. If you get a chance to see them live, it's not going to be a kind of greatest hits tour. There's going to be lots of stuff off the new album, but don't let that put you off because it's a strong set. So go and see OMD live. I sort of know your taste as well. So what I'll do is I'll curate you a dozen OMD tracks that I know that you will adore.
Okay. That'd be awesome.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. And speaking of concert tours, before we get into the Erasure album, I just want to bring something up. Okay. This came to light on social media a few weeks ago. I kind of forget the details now. But somebody was writing about this on Facebook or something. And somewhere along the line, somebody pointed out that this DVD, Erasure, The Tank, The Swan, and The Balloon, was the chorus tour. I didn't know that, and I own the DVD. And I had never watched it. Wait a second. You're telling me on the first episode of this, I sat there and made Andrew go on for 5 or 10 minutes explaining to me why there wasn't really a proper chorus tour, and we talked about how the ABBA-esque EP came out and sort of overshadowed chorus. And here in my house is a DVD that documents this entire period. But the thing is, as I told the folks on Facebook, one of the first things we did when things started to open up after COVID, one of the first exciting trips that we took was we went to Princeton, New Jersey, to a place called the Princeton Record Exchange. And because it was our first big record shopping trip in a year or more, I went a little nuts and I bought like a ton of stuff. Unfortunately, I keep my records upstairs, but I keep my DVDs downstairs. So I put this DVD downstairs and then didn't see it for months and months and forgot that I had it. But at the Princeton Record Exchange, I bought this Erasure Live DVD for $6. Can you believe that? $6. And so just last night, before we got ready to record this episode with Andrew, we finally sat down and watched this live DVD. And are you telling me that on like every stop on this tour, they played up to 29 songs? Do you know, is this like a bunch of songs from different nights? Or is this really their set list? Because they did almost 30 songs. It was amazing.
That's incredible. Maybe there were sort of little mini, some of them were kind of mashed together or something. Or,
no, not really.
So the full songs.
I think I know a little bit about the tour. This is the Phantasmagorical tour. They call it on the DVD, The Tank, The Swan, and The Balloon because of the props used on the stage. You know, the tank is what Vince was in with all his equipment. And then, of course, there was a swan and then a kind of a hot air balloon there. But what I read about the tour was that they wanted to spend, instead of going from, arena to arena night after night, they wanted to spend several nights, maybe a week or so in theaters and just doing the same show over and over for several nights.
Like a residence.
Correct. Yes, that's what I read. And I believe that's what happened, because if you look at that concert video, you can see it's clearly in a theater type setting.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I didn't look to see where it was, but my understanding is that they, instead of, a big wide arena tour, they just did these smaller, it didn't look that small. They kind of set up shop for several days, because that's quite a company of performers and all kinds of stage sets to take along. I would think it would make sense to leave that in place for a week or so.
That makes sense. And it was a full performance troupe. There's a number of dancers. They actually do the good, the bad, and the ugly with nobody from Erasure on stage, but the dance troupe does this awesome dance to it. It was so good. When it was over, I actually sat up and said to Sarah, that was amazing.
It was.
Neither Andy or Vince was on stage. It was just a spotlight for the dancers, but I love that. It was great. The set list, they do every song from Chorus. They do every song from ABBA-esque, and then they pepper in some really cool choices. They do
crazy.
The Soldier's Return, the B-side of Victim of Love. They do Love is a Loser, Heart of Stone. There's some really good tracks on here. We had a great time watching it. It's not in high def or anything.
No.
It's very blurry looking, and it's, 4:3.
Yeah, the aspect ratio.
It's made for old fashioned TV. It's kind of weird because every now and again, Vince Clarke takes out this video camera and leaves his tank area and just goes out on the stage with a camera, and he walks around and films people. And you can sort of see Vince's footage. They show you what Vince is filming. And the resolution of his camera
is much
better
better
than the camera that they're using to film the concert.
It's black and white, but the resolution is clearer. So it's a very jarring effect, unintentionally jarring.
But it was great to see the concert. We talked about it in that last episode, and I was so confused as to what was happening with it. And the fact that we had this document of it here in our house at that time that I was expressing confusion made me laugh. I guess you buy so much stuff sometimes you don't even keep track of what you have.
But it's confusing in itself, isn't it? So the tour that promoted the album wasn't named after the album, and then the DVD that came out of that tour wasn't named after the name of the tour.
Right.
So that is weird. I think because of the artwork on here.
I'm familiar with it, yeah.
Because of that artwork, I know it's different artwork than I Say. I think that artwork made me think this was the I Say tour. I think that's what I thought when I bought it.
It doesn't match up with anything else.
No.
It certainly doesn't match up with Chorus. It doesn't match up with ABBA-esque. It's just kind of its own little entity, the branding and the packaging for this tour. Very much a one-off, really.
As a graphic designer, the inconsistency really bothers me.
I can believe that. And since there's nothing worse than everyone talking about an image that somebody is showing them on a podcast, I guess it's time to move on.
All right, but perhaps we should put a picture of that in the show notes. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll do that. And speaking of the show notes, don't forget, folks, I've said this in the past, and I should say it more often, but when we release our episodes, Sarah does a really good job at putting pictures and graphics in with the show notes that tie into what we talk about. And a lot of things like Apple Podcasts and the Apple apps don't show you those pictures. They just show you the text. So if we ever refer to things and say we're going to put those in the show notes, you can always see them at our website, permanentrecordpodcast.com, or some apps like the one I use, Podcast Addict, I think. They show you everything. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because we left you on a cliffhanger last time we talked.
That's right.
As I revealed that in 1991, I was a hard rockin' SOB, and there was photographic evidence of that in the show notes. There's a picture of me as I was interviewed by a local paper, and I had my long 90s hair and my rock and roll bandana. And so I think I left you with the question, was Brian a hard rocker in 1991? I let that stew for a month. I know you guys have been trying to live your lives, and in the back of your mind, you're like, is everything I know wrong? Is Brian a hard rocker? And the answer to that, folks, before we get into the side two of the record, just so you can rest easy, the answer to that is no, not really. I was always listening to Styx, and so there was the new Styx album at that point in time, so I listened to it because I always did. Even though I was listening to those various guitar bands, I was coming up with a list of other things in 1991 that I was listening to all the time. Sarah, Andrew, you can probably expect that I was listening to Violator.
Yes.
Quite often, and Sarah had introduced me to New Order's Technique album, which I was listening to quite a bit. And
I thought you were going to say New Kids on the Block.
Oh, goodness. No.
No, that would come later in life. And Andrew, do you remember around that time period, Elektra Records released like a 40th anniversary set with a name that I can't pronounce because it has like 2 different accent marks at it? It was like Rubaiyat or something like that.
I do, yeah. It was The Cure were on it, weren't they?
Yes.
And yes,
and
I do remember that.
Hello, I Love You by The Doors. And I was obsessed with that. I remember going to the radio station and copying that song onto a cassette tape so I could get the Cure song without buying all the other songs that I didn't want. And I was also listening to the Lightning Seeds, Cloud Cuckoo Land. I just got into Oingo Boingo, and there was a band. I wanted to know if Andrew knew this band because I thought they were the bee's knees. I still think this band is awesome, but there was a group called Boxcar out of New Zealand or Australia, and they have an album called Vertigo.
Don't twist the truth, all day, mine too. 'Cause if you stop for a guess, I won't be here when you get back. Who do you think you are, baby? Who do you think you are? Happy as your enemy, if that's the way it's gonna be. Just who do you think you are?
I love this album, and I wish there was enough information online that we could use to talk about it, because I would love to sing its praises to more than just Brian, because he already knows I love it too.
It sort of sounds like if you put New Order and Erasure together.
That's a nice mix, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're so good. And
Yeah.
they're so good for that album. I think they drastically changed. At one point in time, when I was on Spotify for a month, I checked out Boxcar, and they did have like one other album that was years later.
Oh.
And it was very different. It didn't sound at all like the first one. But if you have some free time, check out the album's called Vertigo. If you can't find the full album, I know on YouTube the singles are there. They have a single called Insect and a single called Gas Stop. And those are both awesome tracks.
I'm just looking now. They re-recorded the album as well in 2021. It looks like they've updated it. So that might be where I'll add that and have a little listen to it.
If you can get the original, listen to that first.
Yeah, I can't speak to the quality of the new one.
I'll ask my friend Arthur in New Zealand as well if he's heard of them, because he likes similar music to me. So I'll get him on the case.
Cool.
Yeah, that's one we still listen to a lot, comparatively speaking.
All right, so we are going to finish up our discussion on Erasure's chorus. We're going to flip the record to side 2 and talk about the 5 songs that are contained, that are scratched into the very vinyl as we finish up this talk on this 1991 classic. So the first song that we get to, guys, is a single, and this is the only single we're going to talk about today, the only song with a video. I'll put 15 minutes on our little timer. And in the meantime, you guys check out this sample from Love to Hate You.
How fun is this song? I love this song. I've always loved this song. And one of the things I love about it is that fake crowd noise.
I do not understand the fake crowd noise.
Oh, I have always loved fake crowd noise in a song, even going back to Benny and the Jets. That's my long history with loving fake crowd sounds in a song. I can tell you, as a little kid, I enjoyed that part of Benny and the Jets where it sounded like the crowd was, I'm like, this is really cool. Yeah, you got me hooked. Anytime you put the fake crowd noise in a song.
I was trying to think of other songs that had fake crowd noises. I forgot about Benny and the Jets.
Another one I like is George Michael, Papa Was a Rolling Stone, and Killer.
I assumed those were real.
I don't know.
They're from the album 5 Live.
Well, okay.
So
okay, that's probably real. Well, maybe it's enhanced. I don't know.
The one I was thinking of that was fake was, do you guys remember the group Opus, who had a song called like Live is Life or something like that?
Yeah.
I do, but I wish I didn't remember.
I can't actually remember how the song goes. And I thought the name of the band was Opus 4, but when I looked online, it seems to just be Opus. But I was shocked to find out that that's not a fake crowd noise. That was recorded live. So I don't know why I thought it was.
Oh, here's me thinking George Michael was fake. I'm so stupid. Well, anyway. Yeah, this was fake, and we know it's fake from the video that they recorded because we see Vince pull out a tape that says crowd effects.
Yep.
This was, of course, the second single from Chorus before the album was released. It came out about a month before the album on September 9th, 1991. And this ended up being one of Erasure's highest charting songs in the UK. Got all the way up to number 4. Not too shabby. And it got to number 4 in Sweden as well. But do you know where it did better?
It hit number 2 somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that was Peru.
You're kind of close. You're in the right continent anyway.
Argentina.
No.
Ecuador.
Yes, you got it. Ecuador. It got to number 2 in Ecuador. So hooray for the Ecuadorians who appreciated this song so very much.
Oh, it's killing me that I don't know what song kept it from number 1.
Probably some Ecuadorian.
I'll
hit.
assume it was Everything I Do for You.
Oh, good grief. Yeah, I don't know. And we cannot complain about the chart position in Australia for this song because it doesn't appear to have been released there.
Oh, wait.
So,
Okay. It wasn't even released.
I don't think it was released. When I looked on Discogs, I didn't even see an entry for it. So I don't think it was released. Yeah, I don't think they even got it over there.
It was very successful. I kind of wrote it down like this in my notes instead of doing actual numbers. It was a top 10 song in Austria, Colombia, Denmark, Ecuador, Finland, Greece, Ireland, Peru, Sweden, and the UK. So that many countries took it to the top 10.
Crazy.
Yeah. Here in America, we couldn't be bothered to listen to it, but it did do relatively well on some of our charts.
Okay.
It hit number 6 on the alternative airplay chart, which is also called the modern rock, and that's kind of like college radio.
Right.
I remember it being played on our college station, so I wasn't surprised to hear that.
You probably had something to do with that as well.
And as usual, Erasure found great success in our dance clubs. It was number 10 on the dance singles sales and number 17 on dance club play.
Now, the really interesting thing that we both discovered as we were researching, this is not the only version of this song that exists.
Yeah, did you know that, Andrew? Did you know that they recorded this song 3 times?
No.
Well,
I didn't.
Yeah, this was crazy. When I looked on Discogs, I saw this, and I don't know where you found it. There is a Spanish language version of it and an Italian language version of it.
That's a nice way of connecting with your fan bases around the world. Yeah, I like that.
In the Spanish language version, it was originally a free 7-inch single included with the limited Spanish edition of Chorus, and it was called Amor y Odio, which makes a lot of sense. Love and hate.
Qué extraño dilema para mí. Yo te odio, pero no vivo sin ti. Puede ser que besarte en luna llena me altere por completo la razón.
In Italy, it actually wasn't released as a full-on single. It was released as a promo, and there were only 100 copies made of this CD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a very, very well, highly sought after, I'm sure. And the title of it in Italy was called Amo Odiarti. And it's got the Italian language version and just maybe the English language version on it. So there's only 100 of those out there.
I'm sad there's no Welsh version.
Yeah.
So I grabbed a review of this song from Music Week. It had some interesting tidbits in it. Erasure's Love to Hate You is due in no small part to the fact that it seems to be based on several previous hits, most notably Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive, Elton John's Nobody Wins, and even Modern Romance's Everybody's Salsa, typically throbbing...
What a face.
I got to get a screenshot of that for the show notes. Typically throbbing, high energy, subtle it is not, but a hit it is. So I actually wanted to include this because I knew Andrew would know Modern Romance, and I wanted to get the rundown on that. And I also wanted to have an excuse to share a sample of this Elton John song with you guys because I never heard of this Elton John song, Nobody Wins. It's terrible.
Oh, boy.
It is like so... You know how like classic rock bands, 70s icons sort of lose their way in the 80s?
They must have loved each other once, but that was many years ago. And by the time I came along, things were already going wrong. I felt the pain in their pretense.
But I can sort of see the similarities between that song and Love to Hate You. What's the deal with Modern Romance, Andrew? Like they the little bit that I've seen about them in the past couple of years, I've never heard of them until the past 3 years or so, but people sort of tease them, right? They're not like a serious group. Is that true?
Well, they were serious in so much as they had a load of hit singles. They
Seriously popular with the public.
Yeah, but absolutely awful, just terrible tat of the 80s, that sort of, throwaway garbage, just novelty, hideous hen party. No, horrible.
I listened to Everybody's Salsa. Do you know that song?
Again, I wish I didn't.
Sorry. We're not laughing at your pain, but it's very amusing to see your reaction here.
It's just banal pop. It's absolute. Like all of their songs were kind of. They had another song called I Musi.
Oh goodness!
And it was just awful, gimmicky, bright pink and lemon suits with sleeves rolled up and more hairspray than Princess Diana. In fact, it's terrible. The worst of the 80s. Yeah. In fact, I went to one of those Retrofest things a few years ago, just before COVID. And there were a few acts on there that I liked. Squishy Politti were on, and OMD, I think, were on. And Modern Romance were on for that. I used that as my opportunity to go to the toilet, which smelled better than their act.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. Oh, your criticism is so entertaining.
I'm probably going to get hate now. There's probably Modern Romance fans out there, although actually it's highly unlikely. Surely.
Well, we'll defend him. We'll defend you.
Thank you. I don't see that connection at all. I don't know the Elton John song. Obviously get the Gloria Gaynor one, but I don't see a connection with Everybody's Salsa at all. Just no.
I gave it one viewing on YouTube. It was like a Top the Pops appearance or something, and I didn't pick up on the connection on first listen, and I said I don't want to hear it again, so I'm not going to give this any more thought. I saw another review from the Charlotte Observer that declared that this song was a much more pop-oriented song, lacking the trademark Erasure synth riff. That was my issue with this track at the time. I'm the one who is like the spoil sport. I'm the party pooper here in this episode because every time I bring up the old days, I'm always telling you guys that I didn't like these songs. Well, back in the old days, this song was kind of close to what I wanted to hear. But once again, it seemed to me that this song really needed one of those Vince Clarke riffs to come through and tie everything together, and it didn't have that. I was very confused at the time.
It's dense though anyway, isn't it, musically? There's so much going on in it that I think to try and add in anything else to it would just be too much. It's such a full song. It's got plenty of hooks. It's just, but it hadn't got the classic high synth line in it, but I think that would just be overkill, I think. You're
absolutely right. It does have hooks. Even when I didn't really like this song, I would find myself walking around, whoa.
Yeah, you've got to.
Whoa. Yeah, that's very catchy, and it will stay with you.
Yeah, and it is just begging for a crowd to sing along with live, isn't it?
It is. Can I tell you guys one more quote that I pulled off the web that's just awesome? And it's from our friend David McElroy from Almost Predictable, Almost. He said the best thing about this song. Chorus, the single, chorus, not the album. Chorus may have been a fairly over-the-top single, but it was Leonard Cohen-esque compared to track 6. An entire factory of kitchen sinks was thrown in to give us a bewildering yet magical track.
Bewildering.
Wow. I love that chorus was Leonard Cohen-esque compared to this.
Goodness, yeah. So many times we talk about this album and talk about how sparse it is, how much space there is between the sounds, very deliberately placed things. And this one is very much an outlier in that regard, I would have to say. There's just so much going on in this song.
Yeah, it's very, very busy.
On the DVD we were talking about earlier, when he sings this song, does he mash a bit of I Will Survive into it? Because I've seen it performed with those lyrics sung over it.
Oh, really? That would be cool.
Yeah, not in the version that we saw.
Real quickly, just because I mentioned this list before, Classic Pop Magazine puts this one at 17 on their list of the 40 best Vince Clarke songs.
How do you judge things as best, isn't it, really? In terms of commercial success, it's up there, and it certainly got their profile back again for them. It got them, people talking about them, and probably helped sell the album. I don't think it's a best song for me, but it's certainly one of their most commercial. And if you ask people now, all of these years later, what songs do you remember by Erasure, it would probably be in a top 20.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Whether that makes it best or not, different question.
Yeah, right. One thing I did not know about this song, I was surprised to find this out. You know Ned Raggett?
Yeah, from allmusic.com.
Yeah. He said on his write-up, the most gloriously trashy and campy moment from chorus, Love to Hate You, bizarrely enough, originally written but never used for Warren Beatty's film version of Dick Tracy, arguably almost says it with just its title. The rest of the track does the business very well, though. And I did find it on another site. They talked about the same thing. Andy and Vince submitted this song to be in the Dick Tracy movie, and they decided not to use it, and instead gave Erasure a chance to do another song. They ended up recording a song called Looking Glass Sea.
Sweetheart, say you love me, I'll fly you to the moon. The choir of stars above me will sing out a favorite tune, a rhythm divine, if you're so inclined, the perfect melody.
Wow, I thought that was a cover of like a 40s song,
Yeah.
but it says that it's written by them.
Wow.
So it doesn't sound like Erasure, does it? I thought it was just Andy Bell with the people who did the rest of the soundtrack.
Based on what I found, I listened to it. I Googled the soundtrack album on Google. Where else would you Google something? And it did come up, the track listing. It did call it Erasure, so I guess it was.
Wow.
But I was shocked, man. Did you see Dick Tracy?
I did, yeah. Because there were 2 soundtrack albums for it as well, weren't there? There was the I'm Breathless Madonna one that had tracks from, and then there was this score version of it as well. And I guess is that the one that has the Erasure song on it?
Yeah. I saw Dick Tracy on the weekend that it opened. I worked at a movie theater, so I saw every movie, basically just because I could get in for free. Based on my recollection of that movie, I don't see that song working in that movie.
No.
So I'm not surprised they didn't use it. But just think, if that would have been the first time we heard this song, was it on the big screen with Warren Beatty shooting a machine gun at Flyface.
Wow.
Crazy.
Well, it would have had to have been re-recorded, wouldn't it, in the style of the soundtrack? It would have been mad to have had a big party synth pop song in a film set in that era.
But
Yeah,
I
you're
could
probably
see
right.
that being done. You know, I could see somebody like Postmodern Jukebox redoing this song in that style and doing it very well. I think I can understand why they could turn it into a song from that time.
Or they could have made it into a Torch song and got Gloria Gaynor doing backing vocals for them.
Yeah.
I bet you Madonna would not want another female vocalist featured in that movie.
Oh boy.
You know how Madge is.
I'm sick of her, yeah.
So we're actually out of time.
Well,
We've already
that's
said 15 minutes.
terrible.
Do you want to just sort of keep going, though?
Well, we have to. We haven't even talked about the video yet. I mean, my goodness. This is the only other song that has a video that we're going to talk about.
All right. So before we talk about the video, I just want to ask you guys, was this a song that that you guys both liked right away? Like when this song was out as a single, did you guys latch on to this one and enjoy it?
Yes, only because I was a huge Erasure fan. So, I probably bought it before I even heard it. Because, when they're your band, you support everything they do, don't you? And I think I bought the American version. I think the American version might have had more remixes on it or something. So I probably paid silly money for it at the time. But I did love it. Did enjoy it at the time, certainly.
Yeah, same with me. As I said before, I was a big fan of it from the get-go. I know it didn't sound like Erasure. It didn't sound like anything else at the time. There's nothing, you can't say, oh, this sounds like all the music that we're listening to today.
It sounded like Elton John, Nobody Wins.
Oh, really? Well, I didn't know that. Yeah, I also like this right away.
Andrew, you just said when a band is your band, you buy everything that they release to support them. This is the song that cured me of that because I have every 12-inch up to this point. And when I look at my Erasure 12-inch collection, this is where it stops. I had Chorus. I mentioned that in our last episode. I bought the Chorus 12-inch. Never bought this one. I would never own it until years later when I bought the EBX3. I think it's on that set. We did not, here in the U.S., we did not get a 12-inch for Am I Right? So I didn't buy that, but I also passed on Breath of Life because I really disliked this song very, very strongly. I really did not. I remember being so confused at the time, thinking that they were off the rails completely and they were picking the worst songs as singles. Between this and Am I Right, I thought that those were the 2 worst songs on the album, which was really convenient because I could skip them. They were right next to each other. Track 5 and track 6. I could listen to 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10 very easily with just 2 button presses. This is what cured me of buying like every Erasure 12-inch. And I never really thought about that until I looked at my 12-inch single collection in preparation of the show. This is the point in time where I took a stand.
Oh, boy.
And I remember when I started working at my current job back in the late 90s, I was talking to somebody who I didn't even know knew stuff about synth pop. I think I was talking to her because I just found out that Cause and Effect had a third album and I had ordered it online and I was super excited. So I was just telling everybody. And she said to me, "Oh, you know what? I used to like some synth pop. You know what song I always really loved? Erasure, Love to Hate You." And I was like, "What? That's the song that you think of for synth pop?" But I eventually did come around to it. Like right now, I love the song. I think it's super catchy and I sing it quite a bit around the house. But it took me probably 2 decades to grow to accept this song and to dig it.
Oh, it's so much fun to sing. And I love the lyrics in it. I've always been a fan of the lines. I like to read a murder mystery. I like to know the killer isn't me.
That's awesome.
It's such a good line, isn't it?
Yep. And Andy is kicking butt on this album with his lyrics, I think.
Yeah.
He's doing really serious songs that have such interesting turns of phrase. Mm-hmm. And he's doing witty songs like this one with great quirky, funny lyrics. When we talk about the extra credit with our B-sides, the B-side that I picked has some of his best lyrics ever in terms of cheekiness. This is probably one of Andy's best moments, I think, in terms of their albums, full albums.
All right. Well, before we do, I think we said this already, but before we move on to the video, I think I would like to go back and share with you my one review that I got from Smash Hits from back in the day. And it was written by Mark Frith. You know, he eventually went on to be the editor of Smash Hits. So it's interesting to hear what he has to say about this song. He says, "In a fortnight of some of the dullest soul records ever, really, readers, some of them are pitiful. And when the only exciting dance things are the energy-packed Prodigy and Oceanic singles, it's rather nice to welcome Erasure back. With a tune that's borrowing bits from certain 70s dance tunes, it's a tale of life's annoying Casanovas, and full of beans it is, too." Full of beans.
The thing that shocks me with that is that this was released alongside songs by the Prodigy. Like, they overlap. Wow, I had no idea. I thought the Prodigy was like years down the road.
Maybe the song you know? I don't know.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, it was a really weird time for music, wasn't it? 1991.
Sounds like it was all bad soul music.
Well, no, it was not. We've got Michael Jackson's Dangerous. We've got Nirvana. You know, it's just a weird, very transitional time. And, you know, even despite that, this song doesn't fit in with any of those things. The old guard or the new, I don't think.
It's the start of a very tumultuous time in music and a couple of years that will make young Brian just throw up his hands in despair and say, "I don't even want to listen to current music." I remember saying, "I always said that we would be the first generation that always moved forward with their music and we didn't get stuck in our ways and listen to the same old thing." And then by like 1994, I was desperately searching for old records that I hadn't bought that I could get because I didn't want to buy Pearl Jam and Nirvana.
It was club culture for me, this album and these singles. I think I talked about it in the previous episode. So I felt that they were straddling those two worlds quite effectively in so much as they were releasing commercial songs that worked commercially on the radio, but they were releasing remixes that worked well in the clubs, and the B-sides particularly tapped into club culture as well, and which I know we'll come on to later on in terms of picking favorite B-sides. But it was a strange time, but yeah, it was all about, for me at that time, certainly, it was all about clubbing and hearing these songs out on the scene.
Man, I'm sure if my first listen to this song was with a couple hundred people who were having a great time dancing to it, I probably would have had a different opinion of it rather than just sitting by myself in my dorm room.
Yeah.
Because Erasure were always big on the club scene, particularly the gay club scene at that time, because they had such great remixes as well. You know, people like William Orbit and people doing remixes like that. So, you know, I remember the remix for Stop was massive. When that came on, everyone went mad for it. So yeah, I have fond memories of this song, even though it's not a long-term favorite of mine. I think it was important at the time.
Sarah, you wanted to touch on the video for this one before we move on?
I really do want to touch on the video because it is the last video that we have a chance to talk about for this album. And wow, what a video it is.
Oh, you mean this is the last time I have to subject myself to Andy Bell's out-of-control hair?
Well, yeah, and it's not even for the entire video because mad scientist Vince has something to do with that. he puts Andy down on a table and has a bunch of potions and smoke and things. And then he turns into what I think looks a lot like a Flash Gordon comic book character.
Yeah, I can see that.
I really, that's what I see when I see Andy on stage with his slick back blonde hair and his tight red and black outfit with the black leather pants. I think Flash Gordon. Not the Flash Gordon from the movie, but the old one.
Yeah, the newspaper strips.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what he looked like in Heavenly Action, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
Didn't he dress kind of like an old style?
Yeah, that's
Flash
right.
Gordon costume?
Yeah, yep, that's true.
Wonder if he's a Flash Gordon fan.
I don't know.
This is a really good video, though. I think that this is probably my favorite of the 4 videos.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's one of their best videos of all. It's so much energy, so much fun to watch, a lot going on. Really well done, I feel.
There's so much about it that I'd just like to know the answers to, and I'm sure listeners out here will know. I did used to know where the live scene was filmed. It looks like they're in the shot of, you got that information, That's good. But more importantly, that house that they're in, because it just looks like a standard terraced house that they've just taken over with. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that is the case. I don't have the specific information on that, but I do remember reading it was just a regular house that they used for the shooting of the video.
Daniel Miller's mother's house or something.
Right. Yeah, they just trashed it, filled it with equipment and wires and all kinds of things, women in the bathroom. But the market where it's filmed is Leadenhall Market in London. It looks like a really, really cool place. And it just so happened that between 1990 and 91, the market had received a really big redecoration, and it, enhanced the appearance, made it look a lot better. So it was a perfect candidate for filming. And that is the same market that is used to represent the area of London near the Leaky Cauldron and Diagon Alley in the film Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So it's kind of famous.
That's the part where the stage performance happens?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see kind of like shops on the side. And then as he's walking through the streets with the troupe of dancers, that's also in the market.
I really like those scenes. And I didn't realize it was real. I sort of thought that they built it.
No, they said
I think for such an over-the-top song, it needed an over-the-top video, though, and it does have everything in it, the way it switches to black and white and then sort of full colour, and the scenes at the venue with all the fans going mad and people literally flying through the air.
Yep.
What doesn't this video have?
I know. And that Vince flying through the air, that's a nod to Leonardo da Vinci and his early drawings of flying machines like the helicopter.
No, I thought it was a nod to Chains of Love.
Well, it could be. They do like to go into the air, don't they?
I think they do. Andrew, you mentioned the black and white footage. It has everything in it, including black and white footage. I sort of picked up that it only goes to black and white when it's on Vince working in the house. And if you recall in the previous video chorus, Vince was always in black and white. Even when the picture was color, Vince was black and white. And so it's sort of continuing the theme that we just had with Vince being in black and white.
Yeah, it is. The characters from chorus are kind of revisited here, although thankfully Vince's eyebrows are under control in this one. It's very disturbing to look at him in the chorus video. You have a problem with Andy's hair in that video. I have a problem with his eyebrows. Andy's hair is crazy in parts of this, but again, when he gets on the table and Vince does his magic, then he's all slicked back and proper.
I think Vince is delightful in this video. This is one of my favorite eras of Vince. I think he looks really good, but I also get a kick out of the scenes in the house where he plays like every instrument under the sun, and it doesn't really go with the music that you're hearing. But he's on the drum kit, and he's like just hitting drums like a madman, and he's playing a piano. And I think we see him on guitar, playing guitar. And I know that he does play keyboards and he does play guitars, but the way that he's doing it in the video, it's not going with the music.
No.
Which I get a kick out of.
And for someone who famously hates making videos, he's having a really good time, isn't he?
Yep.
Right. Yeah. They always complain, oh, we're not actors. Oh, we hate doing videos, but they don't look like they're hating it in this video. They look like they're having a great time. And
I had a great time watching it. I think this is a great clip. Far and away my favorite off of this album. I think this is great. Probably one of the best Erasure videos of all.
Yeah, I'd agree.
All right. So that brings us up to track number 7. And this is a song called Turns the Love to Anger.
Now are we pleased? How are we free? See how this obsession turns the love to anger.
east, calling west, falling onto stony ground. We are lost in our vision. We are primitive and feeling.
Well, I've been singing this song all day today, spookily.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, obviously, I knew we were recording this, but we're actually recording this on Remembrance Sunday, which is a big thing in the UK and Europe. I think, do you have Remembrance Sunday there?
Well, we have
remember
Veterans Day, which was yesterday for us. It was 11/11.
Right. So it's the same thing. So people wear poppies here, and the phrase "lest we forget" is a kind of way of paying tribute and remembering, all the people that have fought for their country. And it's not a fun day, but it's a nice way of recognizing people's contribution to keeping us safe. So this song's been in my head because of that opening line, "lest we forget," because it's been in newspapers and stuff. But I really like this song. I mean, I like all the songs on this album, but this for me is another song that, I mean, just looking at all the tracks now, most of them could have been singles, really. When some of us moved from CDs to digital and streaming, this is a song that stayed in my playlists over the years. I think it's a strong track on a strong album.
I'm going to agree with you completely. This is an amazingly strong track, and this is an interesting point in the album, for me at least, because back in 1991, from this song onwards, I thought these songs were all top shelf Erasure songs. I love the album from this point on. Back in the day, I would often start the album with song 7 and just listen to it like an EP, because I love everything else that we're going to talk about from this point, or young Brian did. I mean, I love them still, but even back then, at least I was smart enough to know that these songs were great.
Oh, that's excellent.
This song, sort of to me, I think part of the reason I liked this one so much even back then was that it sort of sounds like it could have been on Wild to me. The middle 8 in particular makes me think of that previous album. And one of the things we talked about in our first episode was that the band and the producer got together early on in the process to see how they would get along, and they worked on one song. And this is the song that came out of that session. So this was the first song written. So this, on the timeline, is closest to Wild. And I really think you can hear it. Like, I made the observation in my notes about this sounding like Wild before I put it together, that this was the first song written.
That is interesting.
So I think that maybe that's sort of maybe why I latched onto it even back then, because it sounded, when I say like an older song, it sounded like a song from the year before, because we mentioned they were putting out so much stuff in such rapid succession. Like an older track was only 12 months old, but this is a great one. Do you like this one, Sarah?
Oh, yeah, I do. I think this is great. I love how it builds. And I have a little excerpt from that Sound on Sound interview with Vince that I've been quoting from. They say the same thing. They said a track that builds beautifully from a broody intro into a pumping classic should be a cracker live. No melody to speak of in the combination of synth-based sounds that drive the track, but the interest comes rather from their dynamic, bubbling feel.
Yeah, it sort of gurgles along, doesn't it? The bass line's very gurgly.
Yeah.
It's got those lovely sort of synth strums, if that's a phrase. Can you strum a synth?
Right, yeah, there are those synth sounds that sound like a kind of like a guitar, right? And the bubbly, bouncy synths in this song, I think, help to build that tension and excitement, even without that driving dance beat. And then finally at 2 minutes and 18 seconds, we are rewarded with that proper drum beat. And it's a very nice little Erasure gallop we get going on there. Really do appreciate that.
It ends up almost a full dance track, really, doesn't it? It does break out into something quite different about halfway through.
Yeah.
I talk about that a lot, about how I like when songs evolve like that over the course of the song. But I found a website called Alternative Reality, an alternative music blog, and they did a column called 24 to Fight For. And it was like 24 songs by a band that you would fight for to defend. And number 7 on their list for Erasure was this song. And they said, as I have grown older and studied my own taste in music more closely, I have noticed that I like songs that are melancholy, yet that ultimately give away to defiance and strength. Turns the Love to Anger is definitely one of those songs that I enjoy that I would call defiantly optimistic. Turns the Love to Anger slowly builds in sound and tempo over the course of the song, and moves from being questioning and hesitant to something stronger and bolder, ultimately transforming over its last third into something strident and yearning as it decries how our love of war undermines our humanity and sense of brotherhood towards each other.
That's much better than how I described it with gurgle and strum. Gurgle and strum.
I love
Sounds
it.
like a solicitor's, doesn't it?
But yeah, I think he did a really good job of putting in words how this song evolves over the course of the 4 minutes or 4.5 minutes.
Yeah. I think you can tell in this song how the idea of love turning to anger is captured musically in the changing sound and the tempo of the song. You know, the beginning sounds very innocent, simple, like perhaps like new love. It's bubbly and percolating, but then that percolating just continues and builds, and it kind of builds tension. And then we get those dum, 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 and it just kicks into this higher gear. And I think, you know, Andy's vocals on this song are just amazing. When he, hope you find it, but like he's very, very adamant about it. And that's a good segue to me just saying, by the way, I don't think I've said this yet. I have absolutely no problems with Andy's vocals on this album at all. You know, in the past, I've talked about his vocals, you know, being a little bit weak sometimes in different areas. I don't have any issues at all here. He is in top form. He has really learned how to control his voice, use it as an instrument, and bring about different effects throughout this album. It's just wonderful.
I'm certainly not someone who has ever badmouthed Andy singing. I think the thing that you're referencing is on our Wonderland episode. I think you said something bad about Andy's vocals on one of those songs, and I got very up in arms about it because I have that blind devotion to Wonderland. But yeah, Andy sounds awesome on this album, and this is the first time that I think his vocals, the more interesting thing that he's doing vocally on this album is his background vocals.
Yeah.
Like things that you're hearing behind his lead vocal, those things are awesome. I mean, he's singing great.
Yeah.
In the lead vocal, but it's more interesting to hear what he's doing behind his lead vocal, I think.
Yeah. The harmonies on the words pleased and free. How awesome are those? And yeah, some of the other background vocals are just tremendous.
In the first installment of this retrospective, we talked about how the Gulf War affected Andy. He was sort of depressed about things going on with the Gulf War, and that impacted the first recording sessions. They didn't get enough done, if you recall, and they had to go away to a second round of sessions. I think they went to Berlin then and had a better time. But, you know, this song's quite obviously affected by what he must have been feeling at the time. And sadly enough, these lyrics apply today.
For sure.
You know, it's 33 years later, and this song is just as relevant right now.
Yeah, I have a quote from Vince from that article, if I may read it. The author said, quite glasnost-inspired lyrics. And Vince said, they went through lots of transformations. The Gulf War was on when we recorded the album. We had 2 weeks off recording, and Andy didn't come back at the end. He said it wasn't worth coming back. He was serious. He was quite freaked out about it.
Oh, wow.
So it really affected him. And you can hear that in these lyrics. A lot of references to war and the futility of it and things like that.
I just scrolled down on my notes, Sarah, and I have something that totally agrees with what you said. I don't remember writing this, but I said that the best sounding lead vocal moment on the album comes in the last verse of this one, the verse, hope you find it, baby, what you're looking for. In terms of lead vocals and the harmonies on that verse is a highlight of this entire album.
I would agree.
Hey, Andrew, is there anyone in the UK who is familiar with the Styx song, Come Sail Away?
No, Styx in the UK are a one-hit wonder.
Is that Boat on the River?
No.
They have a song called Come Sail Away that is very, very popular here. It's like one of the ultimate classic rock songs. I just took a brief note that what starts off as rather depressed, calling out the planet for spreading confusion and being primitive, eventually gets to lyrics like, so come with us and take a ride somewhere in the big blue sky before it's too late, it's too late, it's too late, which is sort of like a rewrite of the end of Come Sail Away.
Yeah.
How they're going to climb aboard a starship and head out for the skies.
Right.
Because things on the planet here are just not going very well.
The hit that Styx had in the UK was called Babe.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
That's one I pretend that I don't know. My last licks for this song, guys, I just want to tell everybody, this is a track that Vince Clarke remixed for the 2020 reissue of Chorus. And while what he did to the song is definitely interesting and I enjoy it, I don't think it's quite as good as the original version. But if you're a fan of Vince's, his cool sounds and electronic noises and things like that, definitely check this out. I think it's just called the 2020 Vince Clarke mix or something. It's not cleverly titled, but it is very neat to listen to. It's just that the new version kind of distracts a little bit from the gradual evolution of the song, which is such a nice thing. In a strange twist of fate, a lot of the new remixes on that reissue are definitely worth listening to, which to an old guy like me is completely shocking. Because
it's interesting, isn't it, when you hear people remixing their own stuff anyway, particularly after such a long time, because like I was saying at the start when we were chatting, you become so connected with songs and they become so much part of your life and you connect them to certain things that happened. And for someone to start messing with them, it's almost like, imagine taking a Picasso and redoing it, some things shouldn't be messed with. But if it's his own work, I kind of admire that he does it, and I'm always interested in what he's done. And if people are interested, I've even got a remixed by Vince Clarke Spotify list, which this song's in, along with about another 50 or 60 songs. And in there, it's interesting because some of the songs people will be familiar with like this. But yeah, hearing him update them using different software and hardware as well, because this is all analog, isn't it? The album, it's like physical keyboards, whereas when he remixed it, it was, all just probably done on his laptop.
Yeah, and it's especially interesting for him because I actually watched the press kit for this with interviews from the time period, and he was talking about how he doesn't like remixes. He thinks they're not necessary, and, we already made a good product. Why are we making 17 different versions of it? And now in 2020, he's doing his own remixes. Yeah, it's interesting to see, whether, I don't know if he's just come to terms with it or what, but he was famously against doing remixes back in the day.
Hey, Andrew, I just got a text from George Lucas. He asked me to isolate what you just said and send it to him because he's going to use it as his defense for the special editions.
I preferred Yoda as a puppet.
All right. Well, we're going to break away from Star Wars because only trouble can come from talking too in depth about Star Wars old versus new. We're going to get back to Erasure, and we're going to move on to the next song, which is song number 8. And this is one called Siren Song.
This is the way.
Try to feel the splendor of it all. Embrace the honesty of nightfall. Try to feel the anguish of it all. Wrap yourself up in every facet of emotion.
We only saw the first 3 episodes of that. I'm not used to that being a Star Wars expression.
Oh, I love it. I want to be a Mandalorian.
All right, so going back to the alternative reality website and their 24 to Fight For, I just want to read you guys the quote on Siren Song because Siren Song comes in at number 3 on their list. And the author of that article, whose name I could not find, says, I have always felt Siren Song and So the Story Goes, which is a song on I Say, I Say, I Say, to be Sonic sisters. Siren Song has a dark majesty and menace to it that feels more emotional and perhaps less created by experimentation. Bell provides himself with haunted-sounding backing vocals that feel like tempting and deadly lure of the mythical sirens. The song could be about resisting temptation and remaining true to a committed relationship, the allure of addiction, following the muse of creativity wherever it leads, or even actually the lure of the mythical sirens. The genius of the song is that it seems unclear whether or not the temptation of the sirens and the destruction that it brings has been resisted. Both the words themselves and the seductive yet defiant tone of the music seem to leave it an open question that adds a sense of depth and mystery to one of Erasure's most interesting songs. And I have to say, I love the siren call synth effect that opens the song and sets the tone. Perfect. So out of all the very intelligent things that the person wrote there and all the insight that they provided into what this song might be about, I'm going to focus on the fact that he's saying that sound at the beginning of the song is the siren's call. Am I supposed to assume that in Greek mythology, when the sailors hear the call of the sirens, the thing that draws them into their dooms is...
That's so funny because my first notes on this are, did Vince misinterpret the word siren here at first? I said, those opening sounds do sound like sirens, but not like mermaids. They sound more like alarms. And that second siren-y sound that comes in, it sounds more like a dentist drill that... And I'm like, yuck.
No, if I heard that, I'd be like, I got to go find out what that is. A dentist drill? I would have jammed that on my mouth.
I think he got sirens mixed up with walruses, didn't they? They both hang around on rocks.
Yeah.
I know.
Now, to be fair, for many, many years, those sounds to me, I never really gave it much thought, to tell you the truth, but I thought that they were trying to electronically recreate like the sound of some sort of scanning machine that would be in a submarine, like a sonar or something. I thought it was just an electronic noise that equipment would make in the water.
Okay.
So I never really laughed at it or anything. But then doing the research for this, I just saw all these different claims of what it was. And then I was like, That's a siren. I think somewhere along the line in my notes here, I'm just going to skip to it without finding it. I think that this is sort of like an altered version of the same sound that starts off the song chorus.
Oh, yeah.
And it's and the person refers to it as the warning sound.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah, it's sonically similar, but without the distortion.
But of course, if it's a warning sound, that totally is a 180 from what the sirens traditionally do, because the sirens try to draw you in.
That's right.
They don't try to warn you.
Yeah, they're like, go away.
So this is quite a quandary. It's a sonic quandary the first couple seconds of this song.
It really is.
But to be more serious, I will say that I love this song. I think the song is awesome. And if anyone ever asked me, like, if someone who came from the world of piano and acoustic guitars, and if a song to be lovely had to have very pretty sounding acoustic instruments, if somebody said, can you give me an example of this music that you love, this synthetic music? Can you give me one that has warmth and beauty to it, but is made up entirely of synthetic elements? I would play them this song. This is a gorgeous track.
I'd agree. It's very delicate, isn't it? But also slightly spiky. It's got those high-pitched, spiky sounds. It is a very delicate track. And I think it's interesting you were looking back to the previous album with something that sounded like it was on Wild, could have been on Wild. I think this could have fitted on either of the two albums that followed. I think it's got that slightly odd experimental side to it that would have worked on the Erasure self-titled album. But it would also fit it on I Say, I Say, I Say. It feels like it's breaking new ground for them, really. That's almost opening up a direction that they're going to go in.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I think you're absolutely right. This is the one song in this album that points to where they're going to go next. And if this was on the self-titled album, it wouldn't be as good, because it would have like a 4-minute whale song section right in the middle of it.
Walruses.
Walruses. Okay. Yeah, so I guess that's interesting that you're both saying that it sounds more like the future, because it puts me in mind of Crown of Thorns on Wild. I think because it's close to the end of the album, and it's very kind of old-fashioned sounding. And the Sound on Sound interviewer said the same thing. He said it has an oddly Baroque feel. You almost feel that a harpsichord wouldn't be out of place at the start. And I could see that. And I also feel that Crown of Thorns has that same kind of a sound to it, like very old fashioned way. I think we talked about that before. And it's also a very deep message in it, just like in Crown of Thorns, kind of very serious sounding. So those are the similarities that I find with those two songs.
I think the tone of those songs is similar. I can see why you're linking them. I think that this song is showing very clearly how they have matured, both as studio workmen. Is that a word? Both in the studio on the production front and in the songwriting front. This is a much bigger palette that they're playing on than Crown of Thorns.
Okay.
It's also got backing vocals that are worthy of Freddie Mercury, hasn't it? Those sort of soaring, they're incredible.
They're amazing. Yeah, Andy is doing amazing stuff. And I have some more notes on how he's recorded these background vocals coming up on a future track. But that's part of the magic of this song, is it's almost like he's painting with his voice. He's giving you like colors and sort of guiding your brain on how it should feel when you're listening to the song through his background vocals. What he's doing is amazing. I was really listening yesterday when I was taking notes. I was spending a lot of time listening to the background vocals, and I was going through and taking notes on, at this time slot he does this, and this time slot he does that. And I got to a point where I finished this song. I finished my notes on this song, and as a reward for finishing a song, I always do something. I'll log into Instagram, or I'll go take clothes out of the dryer, because that's a great thrill. But I logged into Instagram, and I follow someone on Instagram named Erasure Picnic. She does a great job of just sort of keeping Erasure front and center on my timeline. I sort of love what she does, and I don't know how to do reels, but she does very interesting reels. And just as I finished my notes on this section, she put a reel up talking about the influences of this very song. So I sent her a message and I said, can you send me the link for what you just posted on your reel? Would you mind sharing that with me? Because I just took notes on the song and I didn't find that. And she very kindly shared them with me. So I want to let you guys know what a nice woman she is. So go follow Erasure Picnic on Instagram. But she had a link to a website called 429harrowroad.com, which is a write-up by Matt Smith, who wrote the liner notes in this reissue. And he talks about in there that one of Andy's influences on this track Siren Song was a 1957 German film adaptation of an obscure Grimm Brothers fairy tale called The Singing Ringing Tree.
Oh.
Andy knew it, and I'm betting that you know it. Because in the 60s, I read that the BBC got the rights to it and sort of broke it into like 3 parts, and they aired it.
Traumatized a whole generation of children.
Was it pretty weird?
Very weird, yeah. Yeah, like Ingmar Bergman for kids. Just very strange. I mean, it was slightly before me, but I do remember it and how weird it was. Yeah, very, very peculiar. There was a lot of that sort of stuff around then. We were getting, a lot of crossovers. So you'd have things from like Poland and Spain and Czechoslovakia and things. But I do remember the Singing Tree. You can still buy it on DVD actually. And I saw it earlier on this year. I saw it and I did think, shall I buy that? And I thought, no, I don't think I've got over the nightmares from when I was a child.
Is it one of those movies that it's on DVD for like $3 because it's like in the public domain? So like any company just puts it out?
No, I think I can't remember where I saw it now. It wasn't particularly cheap.
Okay.
There's probably a generation of goths who'd still, probably have nights in all watching it together. Watch it in their belfry.
Well, Matt Smith doesn't go into too much detail how it influenced this song, but he does say, Martin Phillips said that as Andy was working on the lyrics, the two of them would trade visual images, and one source that cropped up often was this movie. Both of them remembered watching it on the BBC as kids, and the producer of the record, Martin Phillips, also said, without much specific information, that the influence of the film is definitely found in Siren Song. I thought that was cool, so thanks to Erasure Picnic for sharing that link with me. I'm going to go back to it again for another song.
Very helpful information.
I also had some cool information sent to me about the song. Well, it's not information, but someone's interpretation. Our friend Mark Beckley sent us an email. He sends us a lot of emails, very well thought out emails in response to our shows. God love him, he's enjoying our ramblings. And he enjoyed our chorus episodes. And he sent me his thoughts on every song.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed reading it. And actually, I really enjoyed what he said about Siren Song so much. I want to bring it up because once he said this to me, I really can see how this applies. I just never thought of it myself. He pointed out that we have, firstly, this is not the main thing, but he pointed out to me that we have some water and some night motifs running wild on this record, and they both reappear with this song. And I was like, oh, he's right. I didn't think about that. But I mainly bring him up because he says that to him, this song is about depression, something that wasn't mentioned in that long list of what the song might be about that I started this section off from the Alternative Music blog. He says that while people sometimes mistakenly think of depression as feeling sad all the time, it's really like extreme listlessness and apathy for extended periods of time. You're kind of dead to the world. With that information in mind, you see lyrics like, try to feel the splendor of it all, try to feel the anguish of it all, wrap yourself up in every facet of emotion. Can you feel love? Can you feel joy? Can you feel pain? Can't feel no more. All of those lines through the spectrum of depression seems very obvious. But, I'm fortunate that I don't have any experience with that. So I think I probably did think that depression was feeling sad.
Yeah, I think it's a very astute observation, actually. And it's not something I've connected with it, but hearing you recite those lyrics back, I can definitely see that now. So, yeah.
Yeah, if Mark wanted to do a podcast about music, he would probably be better than me. He seems really, really intelligent. He looks at music very smartly. I always enjoy reading his messages.
Can I make a confession here?
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to sound like you throughout most of the album. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, this song was my least favorite song on the album. I was not a fan of this song. And I honestly do think a lot of it had to do with how it started. I did not like those sirens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then it just seemed very slow and plodding, and I did not appreciate it. Just like you were saying, you didn't appreciate a lot of the songs. Mm-hmm. I appreciated most of them. This was not one I liked very much. And thankfully, I have come around to it recently, and I do like it a lot more. I will say it still has to be last because something has to be last.
Right.
But I definitely appreciate it more. But back in the day, I was like, oh, I don't want to hear this.
Oh, wow. I don't know if I knew that.
That's, I think, another reason I would put it in mind with Crown of Thorns, because it's kind of, to me, like a lower point as we reach the end of the album. And I think Crown of Thorns is sort of a lower point before we got to the very end.
Okay.
I suppose the difference for me is that I think Wild has a lot of poor tracks on it. And I think that this album is really, really, really strong. So even if you put this at the bottom, it's still better than almost everything on Wild, or at least half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, that putting this last doesn't mean it's any worse than, like I said, something has to be last.
But I agree with you, Sarah, that I think listening to it at the age I am now, I hear different things in it. I think your musical tastes mature, don't they? And I think I'm have more patience for music like this now, more of an affinity to it than I would have done as a 20-something listening to the album back then. I would have probably been more connected with Chorus, the track, and Love to Hate You, the more obvious pop song.
Yeah, I like that patience. That's a great way to put it. And I'm still a big fan of the dance tracks. I still generally prefer the faster songs, but I think I have a better appreciation for the slower songs now than I did 30 years ago.
Well, thank goodness you're right about that, Andrew, that we all mature in our musical tastes over the years, because if I was still feeling what I felt back in 1991, I'd be so mad at myself. Blind to this great music, blind and deaf to this great music, because I think that this song is Erasure at their most creative as songwriters and performers. Andy is just amazing on this one. And I can hear that a lot of thought and care went into this track. And I think this is one of their best songs ever.
High praise indeed. Justifiable though.
I'm glad you agree. So now we're going to move on to a song that is, I think people really like this next song. I think I saw a lot of positive feedback about this one, and I think it's because of the fact it's not as challenging as the song we just heard. This is more of what people expect from Erasure, so we'll see if it holds up to some of their classic tracks. This is a song called Perfect Stranger.
As you were introducing that song, I just got the biggest grin on my face because my first personal notes that I have on this song. Okay, now we're talking. This is more what I want from my Erasure songs. So you pegged me. Yeah, this is exactly what I want to hear from Erasure. It's a terrific song, and I don't think it's weak at all. And I say that because in the Sound on Sound article, the interviewer says, for me, the album's one really weak song and really something of a filler. It sounds too much like a weak basic idea that just ticks over for the duration without a strong enough melody to support the rather standard synth decorations. I thought, what? But then says, it was a hard one to do. You're probably right. It sounds better as a slow song. It started off as a ballad, and we recorded a ballad version with acoustic guitar, which will come out on a special 12-inch somewhere down the line. And I thought, oh, well, yeah, I knew that happened. But it was really interesting to hear him say that he didn't think it was necessarily as great as a faster version. And I absolutely adore it. I love how this sounds. I think it's excellent.
It just has everything that you want from Erasure, though, doesn't it? Like you said, Sarah. It's got the energy, it bangs along nicely. You can dance to it, but it's not over the top. The lyrics are great. The vocals are great. It's got all of those synthy, Vincey hooks in it. This is another everything and the kitchen sink sort of song, really. And I think the fact that it comes after Siren Song, it's so contrasting, isn't it, to that?
Yeah, to me, back in the day, I think this was a respite, right? It was, okay, we're back to what I want to hear. Yeah. And you're so right about all the sounds in this. It reminds me of when we talked about the Thompson Twins and how they were so good in that album, Quick Step and Sidekick, just putting little tiny bits of sound in here and there. You get a really great bunch of that here in this song. Lots of little sounds that just kind of fade in, pop in, do their little job, and then they come out. And it's really well done.
There's a sound in it particularly that makes me smile as well. That sort of hooting sound. It's almost like an electronic owl. It's kind of comical, but it fits perfectly.
Right.
There's a TV series from almost the same era as the Singing Ringing Tree, but nowhere near as alarming, called The Clangers, which is big in the UK. And Erasure indeed did a song called Carry On Clangers, which we probably talk about later. Anyway, the noise the Clangers made remind me of that sort of odd hooting noise that's in it.
What are the Clangers? Like, what are they?
The Clangers are a family of pink knitted aliens that live on the moon.
Oh, well, of course. You could get that from the name. Pink knitting.
They look a little bit like anteaters, but they're not. They're brilliantly, they're so much of their time. To look at them now, it's so naive, but they were beautifully done. You know, they're all hand knitted and they're made out of bits of tin foil and stuff. It's very, very low tech.
Oh.
But so endearing. And if you can grab a bit of audio of the clangers, I think you'll enjoy it. In fact, you're going to need to for the Carry On Clangers bit anyway.
Yeah. Oh,
But they do go, so they make a sort of,
Oh my goodness.
I can't do the impression because I'm laughing too much.
Oh, that's so great. They aren't the same, but they put me in mind of the yip, yip, yips from Sesame Street.
Oh, okay.
Yip, 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 yip. Those crazy aliens with the big mouths that would come around. And I don't know. Do you know them as well, Andrew?
I do, yes.
Yip, yip, yip,
They're similar to them.
Yeah. Oh, I love those guys. So I think I'd love the clangers as well.
There's probably an evolutionary link between the two species.
Oh yeah, they're probably related.
Probably is. It's interesting to me just because what you said, Sarah, that this song started out as a slow song and then became this faster version, simply because I saw online a number of places, including, I think, Almost Predictable Almost, which point out that this album is Erasure's Violator. This is like the high water mark of Erasure. So if chorus is Erasure's Violator, then Perfect Stranger is Erasure's Enjoy the Silence. Because Enjoy the Silence started out famously as a ballad and then was forced to become an upbeat dance song.
Yeah.
And so that's what we have here. And I was glad to hear Andrew mention that this has everything in it, including the kitchen sink. And one of the things you mentioned, I think, in your list of stuff was that it does feature, finally, a very Vince Clarke sounding riff around 2 minutes and 25 seconds. I wrote down. It actually features a Vince Clarke riff. So that's part of the reason why like I said, I love this one, even back in the day. I did take a note that around 2 minutes and 45 seconds behind the main keyboard part, we get the warning sounds again. They actually show up in this song. They don't shine a spotlight on it and there's stuff playing over top of them. But we do get those sounds again in this track.
Huh. I'd have to go back and listen. I don't remember that, but there is so much going on here.
What whereabouts in the song is it, Brian? Did you say 2:45?
Yes.
Oh, I know the noise you mean. Yeah. There's the clangers in there as well.
So this is the song that I mentioned earlier that I had a little list of Andy Bell cool background moments.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the song that I actually started doing it. I'm not sure how much value there is in me reading it because we're not listening as I talk, but I'll just go through it really, really quickly. He starts things off at the very beginning of this song. Even before the song really starts, you got a lot of deep and breathy uhs.
Yeah.
With some O's over top of them.
Right.
And that's all before the first verse.
How about the fact that this song fades in?
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Isn't that unusual? I wonder why they decided to do that. I've always wondered that.
It fades in and then it fades out early, right? It has like a fake ending at the end of it.
Kind of.
Yeah. So it's nice that Andy's doing that breathy stuff in the beginning because it does have a pretty long introduction. It fades in for a while.
Yeah.
So that helps keep it interesting. And around the 1 minute, 20 second mark before the second verse, he introduces the vocal with about 4 seconds of high pitched ahs, which he then throws harmonies on top of. And it's really just a few seconds, but I love that he did it and the attention to the detail. In the mid-song instrumental break, he does some vocal ad-libs of Sweet, Sweet Love. And I know some musicians don't care to have their vocalist stepping on their moment to shine. They're like, guitar solo or their synth solo in the middle of the track. But I don't think Vince Clarke is that kind of guy. And I kind of like that. And of course, the fake ending to Fade features some great breathy vocals as things wrap up. So much like the beginning of Joan, I mentioned this back when we talked about Joan. These instances are all examples of qualities that Andy Bell brings to a song that my other favorite singers at the time just couldn't do. All those background tricks that we've mentioned on this song that I just listed. Picture singers named Dave or Robert or Bernard or Neil. Picture one of them trying to do what Andy Bell is doing on this song with his background vocals or this album with his background vocals. None of them could get away with singing like this. And I love that about Andy. He can do whatever he wants. He vocally can do whatever he wants. Like he's capable of it, which is one thing. But then he's the sort of performer like Dave Gahan singing Sweet, Sweet Love like Andy does in this. You'd be like, what are you doing, Dave? But Andy can do that. But then Andy can do so many other different personalities in his songs, so many characters. It's awesome. He is just an amazing performer. I love him. As I was getting off on these background vocals yesterday, I was thinking to myself, like, is this something that Andy always does? And I just have not paid much attention to it? Or is this like this time period he's playing around more in the studio. I'm sure he's not doing this kind of stuff on like the Circus. Those songs are very basic compared to what we're listening to today. But I've got to go listen to the next couple. I'm sure on the self-titled album, there's probably plenty of stuff like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just not very familiar with that one.
And that's why I think it comes to my attention in this album as well. I think there are parts and pieces of it in maybe at least Wild. I'm not sure about The Innocents, but I think this is, like I said, where he's really coming into his own as a vocalist and really learning how to use his voice as an instrument and experimenting with that, just as Vince is experimenting with these old analog synths. It's a really lovely combination and a very exciting period of creativity for both of them.
I would love to know how much, not help, but how much of the time was Martin Phillips there with Andy working on this stuff and helping him achieve all this stuff. I get the sense that Martin Phillips is an awesome producer. Based on the albums that I know that he produced, he must be a great producer, and he hasn't done a ton of stuff. I looked at his discography, but The Beloved and Cause and Effect, and this is one of the best sounding Erasure albums. I mean, the guy must be talented, but I would like to know how much he helped Andy with this. Who do you think is a better producer for Erasure? Like The Innocents and this album were both like really huge records for them, but they have very, very different sounds. Which album sound do you like better?
I'm more familiar with the work of Stephen Hague, so I kind of know the body of work more in depth, and the fact that he's worked with other artists that I respect, people like New Order and Pet Shop Boys, but also even some of the more weird esoteric stuff with Malcolm McLaren and things. So in some ways, The Innocents has a softness to it that this album doesn't have. This has a more analog, hard sound to it, which just shows a different side to them, really. It just shows a diversity of styles that can, but that they can successfully pull off a diversity of styles. I don't know. It's like picking a favorite color, it depends how you feel on the day. And some days I want The Innocents and other days I want this. I think those two albums for me are up there at the top, probably equally.
Yeah, I'm afraid I have to be a wishy-washy person and agree with Andrew. It depends on what you want from the sound. I think that they both were well suited to produce the type of sound that we got as the final product. So, I wouldn't want maybe Martin doing the Innocents album. It would completely sound different to what it does now. So that's a tough question. Like if you want wheat bread, you want to use wheat flour. So using a weird baking analogy there, but yeah, I want a cold analog sound, and this worked really well with Martin Phillips.
Yeah.
Quick follow up for both of you. I respect those answers. Which of those two producers do you think lets Erasure sound more like Erasure? You can't prove this either way. I'm just asking your opinion.
I mean, we talked about it in the Innocents episode, didn't we, about the studio tension in terms of production and the power struggle that went on between Stephen Hague and Vince Clarke, and both of them have admitted that they're control freaks. So if you put two control freaks together, it's never going to be an easy session. I don't know about Martin Phillips. I don't know what he's like to work with, but he certainly made Erasure sound good. Do they sound more like Erasure? Yeah, maybe they do actually. Maybe Stephen Hague is more evident in The Innocents than Phillips is in Chorus. And I just sort of, while we've been chatting, I've been flicking through other stuff that Martin Phillips has done. And I was aware of the Beloved album, which is an album that I love. Mm-hmm. But he also did that Frasier Chorus album, their debut, which is another album that I love. And I wouldn't have connected that with this at all. So I think his style is really, really diverse. I think he obviously is there to let the artists themselves breathe musically in a way perhaps that Stephen Hague may not be, but they both work equally well for different reasons.
Yeah, I would tend to think that perhaps Martin Phillips had a gentler touch in this studio than Stephen Hague. He would be more not demanding, just suggesting. And I think that probably worked to the benefit of everyone, including the listeners.
You're right about that, Sarah.
I think there was more of a musical manifesto with this album, though, as well, wasn't there? That didn't exist with previous albums. Vince wanted to return to analog sounds and clearly had an idea about the way that he wanted to construct these songs. So maybe Martin was there more as an engineer almost to help Vince achieve what he wanted to achieve. perhaps that's why it sounds the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I don't know that any of the other albums went in with ground rules like this one did.
Mm.
So that may have a big influence on how it sounded too.
Yeah, one thing that I was thinking of last night when we were watching the concert on the Tank, the Swan, and the Balloon was the versions of Chains of Love and Little Respect that are on that tour sound very different than the album. And I was wondering, do these songs sound so drastically different because this is how Erasure would have done those songs? Like without Stephen Haig's influence? Like, are we hearing the Erasure version of these songs?
I will say no. Just off the top of my head, I will say no. I think they were done like that, to fit in with the rest of the songs of the chorus album, and also due to the limitations of the live equipment that he had. That's just my gut feeling. I could be very wrong.
Yeah, I think as well, when artists are revisiting their back catalogue for a tour, they're using, to sequence the music for that tour, they're using the current technology, which will change the sound. You know, it's a bit like, from a design perspective, you know, now the way I design something with the technology I have, you know, it's like the filters that I have in Photoshop, the typefaces that I have available to me, they all anchor something in a particular point in time that when I look back through my own work and other artists' work, you can almost say, oh, that looks very mid-80s, or that looks sort of late 90s. And I think it's that reliance on technology, both for design and music, that does that kind of anchoring, really, that you hear certain sounds that remind you of a certain period in time.
That makes sense. You guys are both very smart.
So are you.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up Perfect Stranger. Sarah mentioned early on that there was a nice acoustic version of this track. That's, I guess, how the song started out. That acoustic version is on the Am I Right EP that we're going to be giving away in this very episode that you're listening to right now, along with our limited edition podcast t-shirt. So you'll want to stick around to the end to find out if you win that prize. We are going to move on now to the final song on the album. Wow, one of the best songs ever written. Not to play my cards immediately, but this is, wow, what a way to end an album. This song is called Home.
Bringing the world to its feet. Bringing the world to her hands and her knees.
What a way to end the album. The masterpiece of the album for me. I think it's the high point. It's a beautiful song. It still sounds really fresh all these years later. And it just works on every level, doesn't it? The music, the lyrics, the construction of it. And I discovered as well that it's one of Vince Clarke's favorites as well. So he's obviously got good taste. Has he remixed this track? Has he ever done it?
He has. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There is a remix on the 2020 reissue that I have notes on here in my last licks, but it's not by Vince.
Oh, with Minute Taker remix. That's how I know it. Yes. Yeah. Cause I like Minute Taker's stuff. He did the Yazoo remixes as well, didn't he? Yeah. It's a decent remix, but this original version is really what it's about for me. At the time, it was a highlight, and it's remained so, you know, over time, sometimes your favorite tracks can change, but you know, this stood out back then and it still does. I think it's a masterpiece.
Totally agree. And I totally echo what you said right there, that over time, your favorite tracks often change on an album. And this has not changed for me since 1991. This was my favorite song on that first day, and it's my favorite song today. This or Who Needs Love Like That is my favorite Vince Clarke song. It alternates based on the day. And today, this is my favorite Vince Clarke song. So it's good timing since we're talking about it.
I wonder if that's coincidental. You guys are not alone in loving this song. I love it too, but I also have some printed praise about the song from a Metro Weekly article about the top 40 Erasure songs. This was back in 2014 when The Violet Flame was about to be released, but I'm sure it would still make the list today. Home is on the list. They said the spellbindingly beautiful closing track to the chorus album. Home is a dramatic, ornate piece that shows off both Andy Bell's extraordinary abilities to layer his vocals, but it also shows Vince Clarke's deft touch on the flourishes of keyboard, one of the duo's finest, lesser-known recordings. I would definitely agree. Sound on sound, says, the album's closing track is, as so often before, its emotional high point. Vince says, I think it's the best song on the album, actually, as a song. I see it differently from Andy, I think, but Andy sees it as a song about someone being 17 years old in the Gulf, flown over, not knowing whether they're going to make it to the next day or not, and being very cold in the desert at night.
Wow, I did not see that anywhere in my research.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to share it. I was very surprised. I mean, we keep hearing this recurring theme about Andy's reaction to the Gulf War and how it influenced his lyrics and his songwriting and his attitude. And surprisingly, this is another song that makes that list.
Erasure is probably the band that I think of that does the best job with closing tracks on their albums. That's going to be a strength of theirs for a long ways down the line. This is, I think, it's pretty close to their first classic one. I think that the final closing statement is something that Vince had been working on for a while. I think with Wonderland, it wasn't really something he thought of. Oh, L'Amour is a great song, but it's not a great closing song. I think he started to get the idea to try to make a statement at the end of the album with the circus, with Spiraling, which is a very nice, very strong song. And then The Innocents. I'm sometimes tricked by how good a closing song Weight of the World is. Well, firstly, because here in America, I don't know how it was for you, Andrew, but we had 2 bonus tracks added at the end of that song. So if you're not paying attention, if you're just playing your tape, it's not the last song. And I think that sort of hinders it in terms of its effectiveness as a closing track. But that is a great song that does stick with you and is a good closing statement. But they improve on that. Oh, and then they go to Piano Song on Wild, which is, see, I think you can see this evolution of trying to get the perfect closer. And I think this is the album where he does achieve that after 4 or 5 attempts. Those are all great songs, the ones that we mentioned, but Home, man, what a great song. This, Vince Clarke said it's his favorite song. He does have great taste in music, like you said, Andrew.
I think it's something about the crescendo with this song as well, isn't it? It feels like it starts off quite sparse and it builds up and then it has that beautiful ending to it. It's not a fade out. The song feels very like it comes to a natural end, which works for the album as a whole. But there's just so many lovely pretty little things in it. The sort of spiraling flute sounds that happen in there. The sort of pirouetting flute noises, the sounds in there. There's so many, lovely little details that on their own aren't really a lot, but when they're combined, they just make for a really pleasing sound.
Totally agree. I just took a brief note that Classic Pop put this at number 16 on their top 40 best Vince Clarke songs. Come on, it's got to be in the top 10.
Yeah, I'd have put it higher.
Yeah, 16 is a little silly.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
I took some notes on that 429harrowroad.com website that Erasure Picnic shared with us, just because I found this to be very interesting. This kind of goes back to the background vocals that we were talking about. Andy remembered being influenced by Jean Cocteau's 1946 film version of Beauty and the Beast while writing 2 tracks on the album, Siren Song and Home. But oddly enough, it wasn't the sense of turbulent love and mournful longing from the film that inspired him, but it was instead the primitive visual effects of the movie. Andy mentioned being struck by a scene in the movie that featured backwards footage of flames being blown out. He thought that was very, very interesting, and he worked with Martin Phillips to create the audio equivalents of this visual effect. Martin said, we love turning the tape around and doing backwards singing. There are quite a few background harmonies on songs like Siren Song and Home. So I thought that was really cool, because if you hear that somebody is inspired by a movie of Beauty and the Beast, you're never going to guess that their influence is running the camera backwards to have a primitive special effect. It's kind of weird that that's what he latched onto and tried to incorporate into music.
But the stuff that was going on with Jean Cocteau and his films was quite surreal, quite experimental, kind of groundbreaking artistic work at the time. But yes, surreal is probably the word. And that's also, just to go back to the singing ringing tree, that was surreal as well. It was like surrealism for children. Okay. So there is a similarity there between those 2 things. They're both equally weird.
And I think you also probably saw the same notes that I did, Brian, about how this song is also heavily influenced by The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah, and if you've read that book, you can totally make those connections. The winter and the lion, of course, being the most obvious ones. And I thought, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that before, but certainly, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I think Matt Smith gave some other examples. He said, oh yeah, Andy pointed it out. It's all there hiding in plain sight. The child who doesn't want to go home because he thinks he's having a good time, which is Edmund Pevensie, a boy forever trapped in his brother's shadow. The cold, wintry landscape, a mystical force that ices over and freezes life. The roar of the lion, Aslan. And it says it's very obvious when you know where it all comes from. And that's something I didn't know until this week when we researched.
Reading the research. Yeah. I was like, oh wow, that's perfect. I have a note that there's some OOOs that he sings that to me sound like puffs of frozen breath in the winter. I think that the way that they create an atmosphere with both the sonics and the vocals is just extremely effective here. Yeah.
That website that I mentioned, Alternative Reality, they had another article called 10 to Hear Again by Erasure, 1989 to 94, where they just shined a spotlight on 10 songs from that time period that you should listen to again. And Home was on that list. And they suggested something very interesting in this write-up. I credit myself sort of for almost thinking the same thing, but I didn't quite take it as far as they did. But they say that Home is a sequel of sorts to Erasure's earlier song, Hideaway. Home finds the broken boy of that song moving on and moving forward to make his own way in the world. So I never made that connection, but here's what I mean when I say I came very close. I rightly or not considered both these tracks to be autobiographical from Andy. And I don't know if Andy Bell's parents treated him as poorly as the parents in Hideaway. I guess I should try to research that. But I've just sort of assumed for 40 years now that he was sort of singing about his own experiences. And I really like that idea because there are lines in this song that make this song, regardless of the fact that it sounds not super upbeat, but it sounds triumphant. I ain't never going home because my time has come, and bringing the world to its feet. You know, people rise to their feet when something awesome is happening. You know, the wilderness before me heeds the lion's roar. I've always assumed that the narrator of the song was the lion. Like the wilderness is heeding him because he has become what he set out to be, and he is roaring.
That's like awesome.
In triumph. So if that is a continuation of Hideaway, then that makes me super happy that that character from Hideaway got to this point in his life. In my brain, I always assumed that this was Andy Bell getting to that point and becoming the superstar that brings people to their feet, and he's on stage roaring and stuff like that. But I really like that idea of this being the character from the previous song.
Yeah, that overcoming adversity thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if Hideaway wasn't autobiographical, he was, possibly telling a story of people around him. It wasn't the easiest time to come out. And I'm sure that if it's not his own story, then it's the story of somebody very close to him.
Right. Yeah. And maybe it's both. Maybe it's his story mixed with people that he was friends with or something.
Yeah.
And I know that this song, Home, isn't 100% a joyous victory song. Right. But I do like that there are lines in it that you can pluck out and say, this is forward progress that resulted in positive outcomes. He's been through tough experiences, but those experiences have taught him something and he's stronger because of them. At the end of it, you walk away saying this song is melancholy, but I feel like the character in the song is going to be happy, which is great. It's a good way to end your album.
It really is. Yeah. On a not somber and not completely upbeat, but yeah, just kind of hopeful.
Contemplative.
Yes. Yeah. And that last note that just kind of lingers. It's a very, very kind of hopeful note. Mm-hmm. I like it.
Another aspect of the song that makes me think that it's a good thing about a person who's in a good place is the arrival of the most Erasure sounding Erasure gallop in the history of Erasure.
Oh, for sure. Oh my goodness. Yes, we do get a wonderful Erasure gallop in this one. Oh, just perfect.
It's around the 1 minute 27 mark, and nothing bad can affect you when an Erasure gallop is playing.
Yeah.
And that sounds tongue in cheek, but I'm being serious. I love that sound.
I know.
That Erasure gallop sound.
Did we invent that phrase?
I don't think so.
I think you did. I think
really?
It's yours. Yeah. We're going to get some permanent record t-shirts made with Erasure Gallop registered trademark.
We got to get a crossover. We got to get some sort of super group going between Erasure and Simon Gallup. So they can do an Erasure Simon Gallup.
Gallop. And then we can do a Gallup poll to see if anyone likes it.
There you go. So this was, I think we mentioned this was originally going to be, there was talk that this was going to be the first single on the album. Did we not mention that earlier?
Oh, maybe we did. Not in this episode.
Yeah, not in this one. But
okay.
I saw that in a couple places. What do you guys think? Would that have been a good choice to have Home as a single?
As much as I love it, I think Chorus was the right choice, really. I think, the single with the same name as the album as well. It was No, I think this is better as an album track, really. It has more gravitas as an album track. I don't think the general public would have quite taken to it, maybe.
Yeah, I hate to say it like this, but it almost seems like a reward for the listener to buying the album. You know, I think Chorus was a much better introduction. I mean, it has that kind of siren alert, you know, like, whoo, we're getting started here. If you were going to make this a single, maybe like the third single. But again, I like it in the album just kind of as a treat to someone for not to say getting through, but, you know, like, oh, it's over, but here's what we're going to leave you with. Aren't you pleased about that?
Yeah, I'm definitely with you guys. I think that if the song was released, particularly as the first single, it would have been a huge hit. You know, anything that they released for the first single would have been big because Erasure is back and everybody was into Erasure at this point in time. But this is not a song that you want playing as you're grocery shopping or as you're dropping the kids off at school. This is a song that deserves and demands more attention than what you're going to give to a top 40 hit, I think, because of its lyrical content and the beauty of the music. This song is too good to be a single is basically what I'm saying.
Oh,
in my opinion.
That's a neat.
I'd agree.
That's a neat way to say it, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I think also there's something about the sonics of the track that we just talked about, the kind of references to Narnia and wintry kind of snow scenes and things. And the first single was actually released in the summer. So it would have felt jarring, I think, to have had a song about sort of winter that was released in the middle of June.
Yeah, that's not the best choice.
This is the one I'm surprised then for the third single, this didn't get released with a Christmas sleeve.
Yeah, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it probably would have worked actually as a replacement for Am I Right as a single. I could see that. As much as I like Am I Right, this is a stronger song. But I quite like what you said about it being a reward for the listeners. You know, it's there for the fans to discover at the end of the album.
Anything else for this one?
It's just a fantastic song and a perfect album closer.
Indeed. So Andrew already mentioned this, but let me just remind you guys that the 2020 reissue features a very interesting and worthwhile remix called the Minute Taker Remix. And I'm one of those old guys, like I said, that claims that remixes haven't been good since the early 1990s, but this one changes the atmosphere of the track while keeping it very recognizable, and I really enjoy the feelings it provokes while listening to it. It's not quite as good as the original mix, but it's very much worth your time. Check it out.
I think as well, something that you should say about the Minute Taker remix is that he is a big fan of Vince Clarke. So I think it's very respectful. He doesn't ruin it. He doesn't stamp all over it and kind of completely destroy it. I agree with you that I prefer the original, but I think it's a sympathetic update.
Yep.
So he gives it more than a little respect. I had to do that.
All right. So we have 30 minutes of Andrew's time left. So we're going to take care of our extra credit and our final evaluation of the record before he needs to get out of here.
Okay.
So our extra credit question this time around is just going to be, what's your favorite B-side from this era? Because there are so many of them and Erasure was putting out such good, high quality songs. Some of these songs have escaped notice by some of our listeners maybe. So we want to point them in the direction of some more great Erasure music from this time period. So let's each pick a song and we'll just sort of give some information. You don't have to go on too long. Just want to point people in the direction of these songs. Anyone want to go first?
I'll go first. I'll go right back to the start, to the song that I just mentioned before, the first single from the album of the same name. One of the B-side tracks was a song called Snappy. And earlier on, I talked about this album coming out at a time when I was very much on the club scene and very much enjoying the music and everything that offered at that time. And this song, whilst it wasn't something that was played in the clubs, it was certainly something that I would play when I was getting ready to go out to the clubs, because it's just such an amazing dance track. It's got all of the sounds of that period in it. The sort of acid house, post-acid house sounds, that hard floor electronic bass noise. Just very, very kind of, it's hard to think of a better word than hard, really, but that's what it is. I think we talked about it in a previous episode about What is Love by Delight, and the sounds and the samples in that share quite a lot of things in common with this song. And also but using a RuPaul sample years before RuPaul was a household name, the phrase, how are you going to love somebody else if you don't love yourself, or words to that effect. That's in there as a sample, which I liked because I was a big fan of RuPaul back then as well, when he was a bit of an underground artist. But yeah, it's obviously not as catchy or as commercial as some of the other B-sides or anything else from this period. But it stands alone as a great example of dance music from that period. I played it a couple of times this week just to remind myself of it, and it's still great. Play it very, very loud in your earphones.
That's great.
In your speakers. So yeah, I'm going to go for Snappy, which interestingly, while I was talking, I've just been looking on the Spotify version of the special edition of the album, and it's not included.
No, it's not.
Which I don't understand why, because it's very much part of this campaign.
I don't have it in front of me anymore. I put that CD away, but I don't think any of the instrumental songs are on there.
That's a considerable omission, isn't it, really? They should be on there.
Yeah.
I had to dig out my EBX box to get the sample because I ripped it. I have it in my folder, so I ripped the song. So I must have included a little sample in our first episode when you talked about it. So maybe I'll just use that same sample and save myself a minute. But yes, I think this is a great track. This is a lot of fun. It is like a time machine. You put this on and you're back in 1992 or whatever. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but it's
which is a happy place to be, isn't it? It's a nice place to be.
What you hear is what you get. It's really good. There's a riff in here, speaking of its time, there's a riff in here that really reminds me of the song Twilight Zone by Two Unlimited. Do you remember that one? I'm sorry.
God, you're digging up some hideous stuff for this episode. We've had modern romance, Opus, and now Two Unlimited.
Oh, I can't wait to use those as like teasers for the show notes. Join us as we talk about such fantastic acts as. We'll see the lowest downloads we've ever had.
Guys, I was hoping to get Opus on here next year as an interview. You're destroying my chances.
Oh no.
Oh God, no. Save me from Schlager music.
But yeah, Sarah, you sent me that song yesterday on YouTube, and I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but there is a little part of it that it reminds me of that. I will say that Two Unlimited probably stole it from Vince Clarke. Yeah.
So my favorite B-side from this era, well, I mentioned in a previous episode that I was kind of turned off, should I say, by the song Waiting for Sex. Basically because of the title. Not that I'm a prude or anything, but I just assumed that this was going to be a raunchier song than I like my music. I mean, I hold any song about sex up to the very high and poetic standards of boom, boom, let's go back to my room.
But don't bother to come if your heart is so full of poison that one drop of golden sun will melt you down into the west, which your eloquence is nothing more than hearsay. Your intelligence leaves much to be desired.
That's the bar for me if you're going to write a sex song. But I actually started listening to this one quite a bit over the last few weeks, and Waiting for Sex was one of the 3 B-sides on the Am I Right single. Maybe they should have kept one of those in reserve for Breath of Life, because I don't think Breath of Life had any B-sides. And it immediately struck me. The song, I actually was surprised after years of assuming I wouldn't like it. You'd think I'd get used to being wrong, but I was super impressed by the truly crisp sound of this music. I gotta say, it's just as well produced as anything on the proper album. And the accompaniment that we get at the start, which continues for the song for a bit, reminds me of something from latter-day Kraftwerk. There's a couple bleeps and blips in there that remind me of Kraftwerk, actually. But lyrically, I mean, musically it's strong, and musically I was enjoying it. But lyrically, this one won me over with Andy's words. It's delightful. It has these great lines like, your eloquence is nothing more than hearsay. Your intelligence leaves much to be desired. I was expecting this, this song about some horny guy waiting for sex, and I'm getting words like this. It ends with one of the best verses ever. It's elementary, my dear Watson. Set me free, or the Baskervilles will hunt you down tonight. You're not the world's most handsome man, believe me. 1,000 others like you standing by.
Wow.
I think that Erasure did the right thing by regulating this to a B-side. I don't think that, regardless of how much I enjoy it, I don't think it would have worked on the album. It sounds too different. But, Don't Suppose wouldn't have worked on The Innocents either. And it's still a great song, and it's great as a B-side. So I love that 32 years later, even though I thought I had corrected all of my wrong-headed thinking about this album, I'm still realizing that I made a few foolish, dim-witted assumptions about 1991 Erasure. This is a really fine track. So if you don't know it, I would recommend giving a listen to Waiting for Sex.
Yeah, there are just so many great B-sides from this era. It was hard to choose. I kept trying to decide which one I was going to select because I listened to them and I thought, oh, that's really good. I really like Over the Rainbow. I think that was a lovely little song. Great Andy vocals. Then I was like, oh, Vitamin C. Yeah, that's pretty good. And La La La. How catchy is that?
Yeah.
Another really great one. I think that one could have made the album. Honestly, that has enough of a good sound to it, but I ended up going with Carry On Clangers. Which I didn't know that was a show, Clangers. I knew that there was a movie series called Carry On. And I think I saw a note when I watched the YouTube, I listened to it on YouTube, and there was a comment that someone thinks that the opening vocals of this song were taken from one of the Carry On movies. Maybe Carry On Cleo. I'm not sure.
Yes. Is that the one where it goes, oh, hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's Kenneth Williams, who was one of the stars of the Carry On movies. I've often wondered that myself, actually. So thank you for confirming that.
Well, it's confirmed via one comment on the internet, but it certainly makes sense to me. And they definitely do a lot of samples in these B-sides. So I would think that would be appropriate. Man, there's just so much Vince Clarke goodness in this one. It's like a little electronic dance laboratory, and Vince is just, working his magic. You loved all those little riffs and stuff, Brian. Mm-hmm. Well, this one has it, I think, in spades. It's just full of all kinds of really good little riffs and bleeps and bloops. And apparently it will be a little bit harder to find if you don't have the copy of the CD or...
No, I do. I have it on the EBX box.
Yeah, you do, but other people, you'll have to go out and look for it elsewhere since this is just an instrumental tune.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can find it.
But yeah, I found it on YouTube, so hopefully you can as well. And it's just delightful. It just sounds like Vince is having so much fun.
It's one of those songs that sounds like Vince is somehow incorporating like old children's toys into the music. Like it sounds like a lot of these noises are being generated by little handheld electronic devices that we all would have played it with as kids.
Yeah.
I love the sound of these tracks.
Yeah.
What's the B-side on the Never Never single? Start, Stop, right?
Stop, Start, or Start, Stop.
Yeah. Like it reminds me of that kind of sound. But yeah, these are all great little tunes. I don't know. They were so popular at this point, Tom. I feel like if a year later they reissued Chorus with a second CD and just put all the B-sides on it, probably would have hit the top 10.
Or done like a Pet Shop Boys thing that they did with Relentless, which has just recently been reissued, Pop Pickers, where they put all those dance tracks, those very clubby sounding ones, on one album. Because a lot of these B-sides, especially the ones that aren't included in the digital version, are very much for the dance floor, aren't they?
Indeed. So those are 3 songs you can hunt down and experience if you don't already know them. But don't do that yet, because we are about to tell you whether or not Chorus is any good.
Okay.
So we're going to wrap things up with our final evaluation. If you've listened for any amount of time, you know that we have always, since the beginning of the podcast, reviewed records on a scale of 1 to 100 record adapters. We are going to all pass judgment on the record. We each have 33 record adapters total that we can assign. Guys, you don't have to give all 33. If you think it's perfect, give it all 33 of your record adapters. But you get to pick how many you give it. We're going to start it at 1. We're going to say because Vince and Andy bothered to get out of bed, they automatically get 1 point. 1 record adapter out of 100.
All right.
And then we're going to award them with 99 more as a team. So does anyone want to go first?
Listening back to this album, which I've done quite a lot this week, and what I also did was listen to it within the context of other Erasure albums from their Imperial period to see how it stands up. And I would say that when I first went to do this, I didn't think that this album would be up there as potentially my favorite album. But through this exercise, I think it probably is. It's up there with The Innocents, on a par with it. But the advantage it has is that there's no filler at all on it. I think on The Innocents, we've got 65,000, which feels like a B-side that accidentally got pressed into the album. And so that album falls slightly because of that, whereas this album has no filler at all. And so for that reason, I'd give it maximum marks because I can't fault any of the songs on it. I think every song is strong and it just works cohesively as a body of work. There's nothing that stands out as feeling like, oh, that shouldn't have been included. And when you look at that within the context of all of the B-sides that we've also discussed, which are all also really, really strong, I just think it has to get top marks from me, but there's always room for improvement. So I'm going to knock one record adapter off just because I don't like the title Joan.
That's excellent. I love it.
And if people have listened to this entire series, they know that's not coming out of nowhere at this point. That was one of your comments in our previous episode.
It is well documented.
Yep, this is documented.
That's fantastic.
And I would once again apologize to anybody called Joan. It's not personal. I just think that when you pay this much attention to every aspect of it, from the graphic design, the packaging, the photography, the songs, the running order, to not come up with a better title than Joan is you deserve to lose 1 point.
That's awesome.
All right.
So I have you down for 32 record adapters real quickly. Hey, 32 out of 33 is a great score. You love this record. But my question for you is, Sarah and I both over the course of the episode mentioned, even though we like all these songs, something's got to be last. And this is our least favorite songs. And I don't think you did. So out of these 10 songs, which you enjoy all of them, if you had to lose one, which would it be? I'm just curious.
Probably Love to Hate You, because it's been overplayed. It's a sin. It's one of those songs. It's a great track, but I've just heard it too many times. So I've heard it enough now to not hear it again.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. I have you down for 32 record adapters.
All right. Yeah, it is mind-boggling to me when I stop to think about the amount and quality of material that Vince and Andy produced in their first 6 years together. They hit the ground running and they didn't stop running for a really long time. And the music they put out started off good, at least in my opinion, and then just kept getting better. And as you go through the catalog, you really get a sense that they were feeding off of each other and enjoyed working together so much. For people who don't really know Erasure or synth pop, they probably wouldn't be able to tell how different this album was from their previous efforts. But anyone who listened to Chorus in 1991 could say, wow, this doesn't sound like anything else. Musical tastes were really changing at this point in time. So that's why it's even more impressive that something so unusual sounding as Chorus did so well on the charts. And the fact that it doesn't sound like music of its time, I think, has helped make it a true timeless classic. Because let's face it, you can listen to Speak and Spell and say, oh yeah, that sounds like really early 80s synth pop. But when you listen to Chorus, you don't say, oh yeah, this sounds like the music of the early 90s. I will say I don't think I really recognized how different it was at the time. Just I was immersed in it. But now I hear that and I really appreciate it. And so many other people have written and left us voicemails about how important this album was for them, how they have such fond memories of it. And I love that because I have strong and fond memories of it too. And as I just mentioned, I appreciate this album even more now than I did 32 years ago. So it has been a true pleasure to revisit and rediscover this album with the two of you. Chorus is in my top 3 Erasure albums, the other 2 being Cowboy and The Innocents. I think it's a very strong and consistent body of work that's extremely rewarding to listen to with headphones on. Andy's use of his voice as an instrument is truly impressive here, and Vince Clarke is in his full analog glory. Even though I don't love all the songs, I think they are all good songs, and I understand why they're on the album, which is something I could not say with Wild. So without further ado, I will announce that my rating for Chorus out of a possible 33 record adapters is 31 record adapters.
Very nice. You get a 2 big thumbs up from Mr. Dineley. Oh, look at that. How'd you do that? There's fireworks all over your screen.
Fireworks.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's a built-in thing on the Mac. So it reads the AI reads what you're doing.
That's wonderful.
Sorry, completely distracted Brian there from yours.
All right, so 31 record adapters from Sarah. Thank you very much, Sarah. I like how you mentioned that this didn't sound like stuff at the time, but you didn't even notice it. And I think that's because you and I were still stuck, as we are to this day. We were stuck in 1986.
Yeah.
So we didn't notice that things were changing all around us. All right, so Vince and Andy are doing very well so far. Let's see if we can put a halt to that with my final evaluation.
Yeah.
All right, so as you know, because I keep bringing it up, my relationship with this album has been changing over the years, and it is one of the times when a band moved on and matured before I was ready for them to, and because of that, I formed some incorrect opinions about their music. While I sit here half puzzled and half disgusted at 1991 Brian for how he reacted to this album, if he could see into the future, he would be rolling his eyes at 52-year-old me, trying to get him to open his mind up to music that he saw as being written for old people like 52-year-old me. If time-traveling 1991 Brian became too much of a pain, I would just show him Depeche Mode's appearance on the Jimmy Fallon show last week when there wasn't a single keyboard on stage, but there were 2 guitars and a live drummer. This is going to traumatize him so much, he'll forget how annoyed he is with me over Erasure. Sorry, I got off topic. Martin Phillips is an amazing producer. I say that based on this, his work with Beloved, his work with Cause and Effect. All great. I think the sonics on this record are pretty amazing. I would love him to oversee a mix of chorus into surround sound. With the great backing vocals and the electronic sounds, it would be a real treat. In my opinion, Vince and Andy wouldn't be creating music this good, again, until the 21st century. And while that music is close, it's not quite as good as what we have here on chorus. While this isn't the one Erasure album I would save if my house was on fire, that's Wonderland. It's always going to be Wonderland. If I'm being honest, this is the best Erasure album. Even the title track, which I labeled my least favorite song in the album, is not a bad song at all. It's not like La Gloria on Wild or If I Could on The Circus. I just like that the least of the 10 songs on the record. So I am going to award Chorus 33 record adapters out of 33. However, time-traveling 1991 Brian is then going to subtract 2 from that before he heads back to his college dorm. He's really thin, he has a lot of hair, he's wearing a lot of cool black clothing, and he has a shift on the college radio station, so I can't bring myself to tell him that his opinion isn't welcome here. In a way, this chubby bald version of Brian who is speaking still wants to be that guy, so I don't want to piss him off too much. So our final tally together is going to be 31 out of 33.
Wow.
Which means that Vince and Andy have received a total of 95 from the cast of the Permanent Record podcast here today, which is pretty darn good.
I think it's worthy. Well deserved.
A lot of times when we have these 3-man scores, when we get to the end, I'm always a little bit disappointed because the numbers don't add exactly how they don't add up exactly how I want them to.
Yeah.
I'm very, very satisfied with 95. Are you satisfied, Andrew?
Very satisfied, yeah. In fact, didn't I give it the highest marks out of all 3 of them? I'm usually the miserable Brit who scores everything down, aren't I? And you're
no,
always
I'm
very...
usually the weird factor that they'll give it a 26 or something stupid. But no, I was smart this time. And you can't fault me because we ended up giving the exact same score.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I usually do fault you. It's not like we spend a couple weeks here at home with me chastising you for your scores.
Very true.
The listeners do that.
Oh, yeah.
So we want to take this opportunity to one more time thank Andrew Dineley for joining us. He gave a lot of his time to hang out with us on Zoom and talk about this record, and we appreciate that. It's always a treat to talk with him. And we want to remind everybody, just remind me, I know you just said this at the beginning of the episode, but there's going to be a Christmas episode of Art on My Sleeve podcast. So people should subscribe now, grab the older episodes, and then refresh their feed sometime in December, right?
Yes, early December. I've started on the edit, and you know how long these things take. So it'll be ready by the beginning of December. And there is a reason why it's a Christmas episode to do with the designers that I'm speaking to. So yes, check out Art on Your Sleeve, available in most places.
Very cool.
Cannot wait.
Yeah, definitely check out Art on Your Sleeve. We love it. We've listened to it. We've collected the whole set. We have the whole set here at our house, Andrew.
Indeed.
Yeah, so we love it. And I know that you guys will too if you haven't yet listened. What are you waiting for?
Right.
So thanks one last time, Andrew. We always have a great time hanging out with you, and it's a treat for us.
Yes. Thank you again
Thank
for
you.
your time and your knowledge. And yes, it's been a joy.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for asking me. And next time we meet, Will I be wearing my cowboy hat? No, we'll be I say, won't it?
Well, I think we mentioned earlier the next time we meet, maybe we're going to be, I don't even know what we'll be wearing because the name of the album is like an adverb or something. It's very, right? Is that the people are there people clamoring for us to talk about very?
I'll wear my orange dotty shirt.
There you go. So yeah, we'll try to get that done in 2024. There you have it. At one point, you probably thought it would never end. It would never come to a conclusion. But it did. It's a Christmas miracle. We're kicking off the month of December by ending Erasure Chorus.
All right. I'm glad we got to finish it, but it was a wonderful discussion as it was happening, and I hope everyone listening enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, it's always great to talk with Andrew. He's so smart about music. I love talking with him. We mentioned his podcast. He also has an article in the new special issue of Classic Pop.
That's right.
It's a look back at the whole year of 1984, and he has an 8-page article, I think, in there. So be sure to check that out. You know you like music from 1984.
Well, of course.
All right. So before we leave you, we have 4 voicemails from folks who were kind enough to call us and regale us with their Erasure Chorus memories.
Awesome. That was a really great turnout for voicemails, and they are from all over the world. How exciting.
Yeah, they are. We will get right to it. The first one is, hey, you know him, we all love him. It's our friend down under.
My birthday buddy.
Your birthday buddy. It's Terry Kemp.
Hey, Terry here from the land down under, the man who single-handedly gazumped Erasure's career in Australia. My journey with Erasure began probably in the late 90s. I had an ex who dumped me, and I remember he was a bit of an Erasure fan, although I didn't know anything about them. I was walking through the city one lunchtime when I worked in the city and passed a CD shop, and there was a $5 bin, the cheap bin. Rifled through it and I found Wonderland and I say. So I bought them out of spite and took them home to play them. And I remember liking one and not really liking the other. I don't remember which way that went. But I grew to love both of them eventually and chased down the rest of their catalogue, including Chorus. So that took me up to Cowboy at that point. And I played them all to death. But Chorus was right up there with them. I really like, I like all of the songs. So yeah, as far as Australia goes, yeah, Erasure are almost non-existent here. I think ABBA-esque was a pretty big hit, but that's about it. You never hear them on the radio. I've seen the odd video clip on MTV. They don't make the press. I don't think they've ever toured here. Maybe a few appearances here and there on the East Coast, not on the West where I am. Their own career is not much worse than Depeche Mode's down here. I think Depeche Mode have toured and people do talk of them and you hear them on the radio a bit, but it's pretty limited. Anyway, some of us are here flying the flag, and I guess while there's an Erasure, we'll still be here too.
Keep flying that flag, Terry. You've got to make up for the fact that you gazumped their career.
Yeah, I love that he will take full responsibility for that. You know, there's millions of people in Australia, but he's going to shoulder that burden on his own. Thank you so much, Terry.
Someone's got to step up. He's a great man, so I'm glad that he's willing to do so.
Yeah.
I love listening to his story because, you know, it's obvious to me he may not remember which of those 2 CDs he liked when he first bought Wonderland and I say. It's obvious to me that he liked Wonderland. I mean,
yeah.
Wonderland is the greatest of all Erasure albums. And I say is right in the middle of the pack.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, and I love that he bought them out of spite. You know, I'll show you. I'll give Erasure some of my money.
Yeah, so it was a purchase made out of spite that led to a lifetime, or from that point on for the rest of his life, fandom of this band that nobody else in his country wants to listen to. Yeah. And he'll never get to see them live.
Oh, wow. Thank you for your dedication, Terry.
It's crazy that they had one brief period of success covering ABBA. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of the band Pseudo Echo. Everyone here knows them as a band that just covered Funky Town.
Right.
So it's kind of like a low budget thing. Like, oh, you managed to have a hit, but you couldn't do it with one of your own songs. So in Australia, people think that about Vince Clarke. It's crazy.
Oh, that's just so wrong.
Yeah.
It's a crime.
So Terry, thanks for the voicemail. Terry, of course, is part of a synth pop duo himself. He's a member of Poison Picnic, and they're on Bandcamp. Check them out. I really enjoy listening to them.
Very cool.
All right. Speaking of synth pop duos, we have 2 voicemails coming up from 2 people who are in the same synth pop band.
Whoa.
Yeah. We're going to have the keyboardist and musician writer, the music writer, and we're going to have the vocalist and melody writer.
Wow.
Let's talk with Mark first. Mark is a longtime friend of the show, and he is the keyboardist in a band called Ocean Bridge.
Okay.
And here's what he has to say about Erasure Chorus.
Hello, Brian, Sarah, and Andrew. This is Mark Lum from England. On the 14th of October, 1991, the day of release, I bought the clamshell version of Chorus, the clamshell version as Andrew described it, with the postcards and the limited edition. Now, I have a couple of really clear memories of Chorus. First of all, just how good it was, every track and the repeated playings. Now, at that time of my life, I was at university, or as it was called then, the Newcastle Polytechnic. It's now called the University of Northumbria. And I remember every morning walking into the lectures with my headphones on, always playing Chorus. And my walk obviously was the same route. And I always remember walking past St James's Park where Newcastle United play football. And I was always then on track 2, waiting for the day. And I just loved that song. And the beat would be in time with my steps. I just remember it all so clearly. Every morning I'd do the same thing. I loved the album so much. My second memory was seeing them live in the tour, the Phantasmagorical tour. And there's a couple of things about that I remember again so clearly. I went to see them at the Manchester Apollo. I've looked it up again, the 6th of August, 1992. I've looked at the set list. They played 29 tracks, including all 4 tracks from Abereth, and amazingly, all 10 tracks from Chorus, which shows what a strong album Chorus is. But 2 things stood out. The first one that I remember is that there was an intermission, and at half-time we played Bingo, surely not one of Vince's ideas, I'm sure. And the second one was I was looking so much to seeing Perfect Stranger. I think probably about my favourite track. And I must say I was a little bit down when I didn't get the full Vince treatment, because he came out and played on a small Casio keyboard with their dressing gowns on, and although it was very small and intimate and nice, I was looking forward to the big production. But there you go. Chorus. What an album. And for me, I'm giving it 100 record adapters straight out.
Oh, I love that so much, Mark. Thank you so much for those memories. It's great to hear so many other folks have memories of this from their college and university days, because, Brian and I have those same memories. I think mine are a little bit more favorable than his, and I'm glad to hear Mark loved this album from the get-go, unlike this co-host of mine.
I came around eventually.
Yeah, you did.
It was interesting to hear him say, because I actually on the episode say something about, I wonder if this was the case. He mentions that they played 29 tracks on that concert, and I said, well, maybe, this DVD is cobbled together from a bunch of nights, but they really must have played that many songs.
Right, all in one night.
Must have been amazing to be there.
I know. I would have loved the bingo, too.
That is insane. They played bingo.
Yeah.
Well, did someone at the venue just throw together the bingo, or?
Yeah. Was that a thing that they
did Erasure officially
right.
sign off on that bingo?
Erasure sanctioned bingo? I don't know.
So he mentioned Newcastle United as a football club.
Okay.
That played somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about them because I only know 2 football clubs. I know Manchester United because Roger Taylor released a single to raise money for them for something.
Uh-huh.
Because, football clubs always need money.
Right.
And I know Chelsea because Wayne Hussey and the Mission have a song called Chelsea Blue.
Okay.
So those are the teams I support based on my music.
What about Wrexham?
Wrexham, I don't think they're in the same league as...
Well, they're not.
As these bands we're talking about.
Yeah, but you do know them.
I do know them. I like watching that show. And the last thing I want to tell Mark is, I don't know if you know anything about comic books, Mark, but I was terrified the second you said Newcastle.
Oh.
I'm a longtime fan of a character named John Constantine. One of the scariest things that ever happened in a comic book happened in Newcastle in the Hellblazer series.
That's right.
So I hope you're okay. I hope you're not possessed by scary demons or anything.
Wow.
But thanks for the voicemail. We appreciate it very much.
So glad you love Chorus too.
And next up, we have the vocalist in Mark's band. And this is a guy who we have talked about for years, and he's a good friend of the show. It's my musical guru, of course, Nick Oswald.
Yes. Our music theory guy.
Yeah. So let's see what Nick has to tell us. This is like one of the rare times when he's calling in when I haven't said, like, what is the time signature of this song.
Yeah.
So here's Nick.
Hi, Brian and Sarah. This is your music theory guru, Nick Oswald, calling with my memory from Erasure's course. Now, I discovered Erasure well after their Imperial phase in 1996, and Chorus was the third album I had gotten from them after The Innocent and Wild. And my honestly oddest memory was that it was a used CD I'd gotten, and every time that I listened to the first track, it always skipped. So I never really quite understood how much I loved Chorus until I took the CD and put it on a different player that didn't skip. Clearly Waiting for the Day was a huge stand-up for me, and Breath of Life was a huge stand-up for me. Those are the two biggest tracks. And I would always jog with this CD back in the day, and the second half was really powerful, especially Perfect Stranger was one of my favorite songs to jog to. So there are my memories, and hopefully you are going to be in need of some music theory things soon, because I'd love to help you out. Thanks for all the work you guys do.
As always, very generous with his time, making an offer right there at the end. Let me know if I have any more music theory questions. Feel free to let him know.
Yeah, that is super kind of him.
I love having that resource available to us.
I know. How lucky we are.
Because there's so much I don't understand about music. Even though I just talked for the last 2 hours about music.
Yeah, and I like how Mark, who spoke before him, talked about listening to this album while he was walking. Nick kicked it up a notch and talked about listening to this album while he's running.
Well, band members are always competitive, so I bet we'll get a call back from Mark now saying, I meant to say I was running
I was
full speed.
Sprinting.
Yeah. And then Nick, of course, was jumping hurdles. It'll just go on and on for the rest of the year.
Escalating.
So let's nip that in the bud right now. Guys, don't call back and exaggerate your running.
That's right.
I'm surprised to hear that Nick Oswald, I don't know how old he is. He's younger than us, I think.
He is younger than us.
I was surprised to hear that he wasn't there from the beginning with Erasure, like someone like me.
Yeah, but he's certainly an avid fan, and we're glad that he called in to talk about his memories.
And he verified what I said about the second half, that second half of the album being so solid. It's so good. Because even back in the old days, like I said, even in 1991, I realized that second half was great.
Yeah. I am curious about running to Siren Song, though. That doesn't sound like it would match up too well.
If there's a warning siren, you're supposed to run away from it.
Oh, right, yeah.
So Siren Song starts and you run away.
Indeed.
It all works.
Okay.
All right, so speaking of Nick, well, like we said, Ocean Bridge is the name of their duo. Check them out on Facebook. But Nick himself did some vocals on an Erasure cover a few years ago.
That's right.
That I really dig. It's one of my favorite Erasure songs to begin with, and then I think they did a really good job. It was TSF featuring Nick Oswald. They did a cover of Sexuality off of the Circus album. And even though we're talking about Chorus today, I've decided that I'm going to end the episode with Nick's cover of Sexuality. So stick around and you'll get to hear Nick rocking out to some Erasure.
Oh, that is an excellent cover. I'm glad you're going to include it. It'll be a treat for all who listen, I'm sure.
All right. So our last voicemail, Sarah. Well, when we're done, I'll tell you what's significant about the person that is calling in.
Oh.
Hey, Brian and Sarah. This is Mark. Just want to let you know I am loving the Chorus podcast. I'm about halfway through episode 2. And I definitely have some memories of this album. This was peak Erasure time for me. I think this was the last Erasure album that I was actually surprised by. Meaning I did not know it was coming out. I did not have the connections you had, and I did not have the internet. So I was actually at a club in DC called Tracks on the dance floor. I can still picture where I was dancing on the outside dance floor next to the volleyball court, and I heard Chorus. And that sounds like Erasure. And the next day I was at the record store buying it. Love the album. I definitely have very specific memories of the concert. This was the best Erasure concert I ever went to. This was the Phantasmagorical Entertainment. They played at George Mason University, not the Patriot Center where most concerts were, but at the Fine Arts Center, because they had set changes and about 9 different sets of costume changes, and it was just the best. I was third row center. I think I caught a hat from one of the backup dancers. It was just the best thing ever. Drove up from Blackbird to see the show. Drove back right after. It's just the best Erasure show I'd ever been to. But the funniest part about that concert was there was a couple sitting in front of us. She was obviously a big Erasure fan. He knew nothing about Erasure, and he was not prepared for what he was about to see. This guy was about 300 pounds, had a leather jacket that was New York Jets themed, and he was not ready for Andy Bell in his tighty whities and 9-inch ruby red slippers. So that was entertaining as well. But best show. Love this album. Loved ABBA F. Closing note, I did just hear the part about Brian where you voiced your opinions about the song Chorus. You don't like it very much. I love this song. So I think on this topic, we'll just have to agree with me because you're wrong. Hey guys, love you. Love the show. Keep on doing it. Bye.
So many things about Mark's call crack me up. The first time I played it back when he lulls you into that false sense of security,
Yeah.
I'm thinking he's going to say we'll agree to disagree, and he's going to give at least respect to my opinion on it. But no, we'll agree to agree with me.
I love that. I will agree with him as well.
That made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
First time I heard it. The other thing that cracked me up, Mark, and this is something that probably nobody knows. I can't imagine I've ever mentioned this before. But for like the first 40 years of my life, I was on record as saying I would rather sit on the foot of my bed and stare at my closet door than to watch football.
That's true.
American football. But then you get to a certain age and you're working in an office and you just realize it makes your day a little easier to just be able to speak about football.
Yeah.
And some other things happened that I won't, it's a big long story how I ended up with this team, but I am probably more than a decade now.
15 years, probably.
15 years long-suffering fan of the New York Jets.
Yeah.
So I don't yet weigh 300 pounds, but I have some Jets jackets and hooded sweatshirts and T-shirts. So it is possible for an Erasure fan to also like the New York Jets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's a long-suffering group of fans.
Indeed.
The New York Jets. So I won't bore you guys with more talk of football. But let's talk about Mark's voicemail.
Yeah.
I like that he thinks back in 1991 we had super cool connections.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, we were just as in the dark with new releases as you were at that point.
My connection back in the day was just the guy at our local record shop, We3 Records, where I would go on to work in a few years, just would willingly hand me his list of printout list of upcoming releases for the next couple months so I could see what was coming out.
That's a pretty good connection.
That was a good connection. But I still remember going the day I was, it was a Friday night with my friends at the mall, walking into listing booth.
Okay.
And seeing Black Celebration like in the front of the store on like the display with the new releases and having no clue. I was going in to buy a Depeche Mode 12-inch like import single.
Yeah.
And there's a new album that I had no clue was, I mean, I knew it was coming, but I didn't know when. I know exactly what he means about being surprised by records.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome. I sometimes wish we could still be surprised by things.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, Bowie did it with The Next Day.
Yeah.
But
I think that's probably the last time we're going to be surprised by new music, unless maybe Robert Smith will surprise us someday with a new Cure album. Wouldn't that
that's
be
crazy talk, Sarah.
I know.
That album's never going to come out.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Thanks so much, Mark, for calling in and telling the stories. I got a lot of enjoyment out of that call. Mark is the contest winner for our Erasure giveaway.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so congratulations to him. We sent him his gift weeks ago because this episode took so long to come out.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't wait for the episode to announce it because it would take months for him to find out. So hopefully he received the package. We sent him one of our limited edition shirts for the podcast and the
Am I Right EP.
Am I Right EP.
The special Christmas edition.
Yep, so he should have that just in time for the holidays, get to play that. That has like the acoustic Perfect Stranger on it.
Yeah.
It's got some remixes of Chorus and Love to Hate You. It's like a really good disc.
For sure.
And of course, we have to thank for even giving us that CD in the first place.
Shay Lowenstein, right?
That's right. Shay Lowenstein, longtime friend of the show, hooked us up with that. So we really appreciate that. Shay, meet Mark. Mark, meet Shay. Now we're all brothers and sisters in Erasure.
Indeed.
All right, so we have one last thing to touch on here. We have a review.
We do.
That was up on Apple Podcast.
Yeah.
Do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
I'm happy to read it. I've got it right here.
All right, go ahead,
and
please.
It is a 5-star review from...
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
I do too. And it's from Elvis Prestine. I like that name. And the title is Essential Companion for Your 80s Synth Pop Addiction. All right, good start. Says, started listening to this podcast a couple of years ago when they reviewed my favorite Erasure album. I had never heard anyone else that had so much to say about each individual song, the chart history, the album artwork, the backstories. I honestly never thought that 30 years later I could have a whole new appreciation for songs I had heard hundreds of times. Brian and Sarah do an amazing job of meshing their own personal relationship with the music, along with input from industry experts and tons of really fantastic research. Since then, I've enjoyed not only all the Erasure albums, but also Yaz, Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, and so many more. If you love 80s synth pop, do yourself a favor and find your favorite album in their backlog and rediscover your favorite songs all over again.
I love it. I love it.
I love it too.
Thanks so much for those kind words. I think I'm going to blow this place sky high and announce that I'm pretty sure that review, what was the name of the reviewer?
Elvis Prestine?
I'm pretty sure that's Mark. So this is a Mark-focused section of our podcast.
Oh,
We
boy.
have the voicemail, we have the contest winner, and we have the review. I'm pretty sure that's him.
Oh, my goodness.
So thanks so much for the review. If I'm wrong, I apologize, and thanks to the real person who wrote it, but I'm pretty sure it's Mark. You know, he shouldn't be surprised. We've always had a lot to say.
Right.
He said, like, he never heard someone who had so much to say about individual songs. We've been droning on for years and years and years. It was interesting to get some feedback on the first side of this Erasure album,
Yeah.
where we put the time limit on. And then the second part where we just sort of blew through it because on Love to Hate You, we did such a bad job of getting information in on the first 15 minutes. That
Yeah.
we just had to stop
It
with the
just
timer.
went out the window.
Yeah. I think most of the comments that we got said, like, lose the time limit.
I think so too. Yeah, I was surprised. I thought maybe people would prefer a more succinct evaluation, and it doesn't seem like that was true.
Yeah, no, I
So-
was surprised too because, like, I don't know. I think the perfect length of a podcast is an hour. The fact that I'm releasing this podcast, which is going to be 2.5 hours, seems insane to me. And if I had to download it, I'd be like, oh my God. But hopefully people will enjoy it and not think it's too long.
Yeah, I guess if they play it at a faster speed, that also helps a little.
Yeah, some people do listen to like 2 times speed or something.
Yeah.
I never do. One of the things that it says in the review that I really, really love, and I really appreciate it when folks say this, it's that we give them like an appreciation for songs that they've listened to 100 times before,
Yeah.
which is really, really nice. It's funny because I know what they're saying because I get that same appreciation from doing the research.
Exactly.
Like when we finished with the Thompson Twins,
Yeah.
I was still stuck listening to the Thompson Twins for a couple weeks because I was so into them by what I had learned about them.
Yeah, so we get a lot out of doing the research and learning more ourselves. And I'm very, very glad to hear that a lot of you folks out there feel the same way and get that same additional inspiration, information, all that good stuff. And it kind of reinvigorates your love for the music.
Yep. So I guess that's it.
Wow.
That's all we have.
Really? Is that it? Oh, can't we talk another 20 minutes?
We cannot.
Well, we can, but we won't.
So we will forego all the usual stuff about telling you to follow us and leave us voicemails just because we've kept you so long. One last brief programming note. If you're one of the folks that was kind enough to follow me over to my side project with my friend Craig and Brian Craig and Brian discuss 007, Craig and Brian talk 007, something like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that podcast has come to an end because Craig was the one who was editing those shows and he no longer has time to edit. We still have the social media. We still have the email address. So if your name is Craig and you love James Bond and you want to do a podcast and edit it and you're looking for a host, let me know. We already have a Facebook presence and we can just replace one Craig with another.
Wow. That's an interesting offer. Okay.
We made it all the way to the second movie. Sarah.
Oh, wow.
We covered
Okay.
the first 2 movies
All right.
before we came crashing down. So thanks to anyone who followed me over there. You guys know I love James Bond. And so it was a treat to talk about James Bond for a while in the podcast format. I had a great time.
Very cool.
So this is the last full album that we're going to cover this year. We're hoping to get one more episode out to you in the next week or so.
Okay.
We have something special planned
Yes.
that we'll try to record and get released much quicker than this.
Yeah, for sure.
So keep looking at your podcast feed for the show, and you might get a little Christmas treat before too long.
I hope so.
So thanks again for your time. Thanks for following us and listening to Erasure. Chorus, we had a great time again with Andrew. Thanks, my friend. We'll talk to you next time.
Yes, we will.
Do it any way you like it. Give it everything you've got. Shake it, move your body, love it, if you like it or not. Sexuality.
And just because there was so much football talk in this episode, I do want to mention that regardless of what I say in the show, I know the difference between relegated and regulated.